I think we're live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are in the world. I am the Creative Contessa and I am at the Pennsic War, Pennsic 52, in fact, which is a large 2-week event held by the Society for Creative Anachronism every year from the last full weekend in July to the 2 weeks thereafter. We have been here for, this is day 3 actually, but we have barely gotten our own stuff set up. So we are finally getting around to setting up the bed. There has just been a whole host of unfortunate events. And yesterday we spent the day setting up someone else's encampment and hauling stuff from storage and setting up someone else's giant round pavilion. So we have not gotten anything done for ourselves, basically. So today we're going to be setting up the rope bed, and I'm going to explain the process of setting up a rope bed and why we do it the way we do it. And you're going to actually get to see us go through the process with us of, probably getting blisters on our hands because I only use natural hemp rope. And you'll get to learn about medieval beds. We do have gloves, I guess. Oh, okay, we have gloves, so maybe no blisters. Anyway, yeah. So once we actually get started with the bed roping process, I will have to only be able to periodically check the comments, which means that if you have questions, at that point, please wait until I'm actually asking for questions because I cannot see the questions or the comments from down here where we have the bed assembled and ready to go. So yeah, we've had good morning, Takeda. Lovely to see you. Penny, thank you for joining us. We've had some amazing weather, and I don't mean that in a good way. It has been fantastically hot and humid. Very humid is more the problem than the heat. And we've had some fantastically strong squalls of rain that have literally delayed people's planes from arriving in a timely fashion to Pittsburgh Airport to get to this event. So yeah, it could be better. This is going to be, the first week is going to be a hot and humid Pennsic. We're hoping that the prognosticators have told us truthfully and that as of Thursday, temperatures should lower themselves into the mid 70s Fahrenheit or sort of like 25, 26 degrees centigrade for those of you who follow that scale of temperature measurement. Okay, so I have a rope bed, and these are the pieces on the ground. There is the condottiero in his least condottiero-y clothing. And those are actually Thai fisher pants that we got in Thailand, in Chiang Mai, actually. You can see all the pieces. And basically, a bed like this is conjectural. We know they had rope beds. We actually have only, that I can think of, only one actual depiction of the rope bed itself with the roping, and it doesn't look like this, but it's from Byzantium and it's from like the 10th century. So it's way before my 15th century style. So this actually reflects what we know about rope beds from, because we have actually multiple rope beds that have survived from the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries. So this reflects more that actually simpler style. The rope bed, the Byzantine rope bed, is very complicated. It's clever though. It's clever, but it's also complicated. So we're going to explain to you exactly why we put it together the way we do. And then we will actually go and do the roping process. And so you're going to get to see us get our sweat on. Not that we aren't already sweating. Literally just existing here is causing sweat at the moment. Yeah. Did we flood? We did not get any floods, thankfully. But I mean, I think you remember. So this is my pavilion that has, oh, are those for the shelf? Fantastic. Great. I knew there were proper ones. So here is the inside of our pavilion. This is the pavilion, as I told you when we set up on Friday, that I made myself in 2005. And it sat in dry storage for about 5.5 years. Well, 5 years. 5 years in basically Albuquerque, New Mexico. Very desert-like. And even though it was climate controlled, I don't know how climate controlled it was. So the canvas actually shrank. I don't mean massively. I mean the fibers shrank. They dried out. So when we had our first, I was hoping our first rain was going to be a gentle one. It was not. It was a squall. And so we were in bed, unfortunately, by that time. And so the rehydration phase for the pavilion on Friday night meant that there was a gentle mist falling upon our faces. Thankfully, no big leaks, just the mist through.
A little refreshing.
Yeah, just a little refreshing. It was just a gentle mist through from the rain. But now she's all watertight. The fibers of the cotton canvas have swollen again, and so it is now once again watertight, which we proved yesterday during the massive squalls that we had yesterday afternoon and evening. So yeah, we are now finally to the phase of putting our bed together 2 days later than I'd wanted to, I should add. But the 2.5 hour wait in line to actually just get into Pennsic on Friday, killed that, followed by the yesterday's helping.
Ability to actually get it from the storage.
Oh yeah. Also, it was in a storage unit that we couldn't access because we left the keys back in Delaware, 7 hours away, and it took them 24 hours to get a locksmith out to cut the lock.
It would have been faster to drive there.
It would have been faster to go back to Delaware and come back in with the keys than it was to wait. Anyway, so yeah, we just finally got the bed yesterday afternoon, but then we still had to help people set up, and we still had to help build other people's camps and tents and whatnot. So yeah, here we are. We're finally getting our own bed. Yay. Thankfully, it's a 2-week event, so, you know, it's not like we missed out on the chance to have a bed. Okay. So this, yeah, so this is one of the back legs. This is the upright. So this actually is tall enough to have a small headboard, and then the board for the mattress part, the roping part, goes here. And you can see that it has a cutout here, right? And that's because the sideboard actually slots into that. But it
helps keep it in place.
It helps, yeah. The cutout there helps hold the board in place. You don't necessarily need that. The rope could do that, but I would definitely include that if I were you.
Makes life so much easier.
So when we're putting the bed together, you want this cutout to face inward, right? Outward. To face outward, so that the outer board, actually, the cross board here, actually holds that in with tension. We have designed this so that it has absolutely no pins. You don't have to fuss with pins. It's just boards and rope. It's pretty low tech. I want the sun away now because I'm hot. Yeah. It's humid and hot here, so it's fantastic. It's wonderful. We're loving it, absolutely. Okay, so here we go with the putting together. So you see that it all just slots in. Just like that. And then we actually attach, hold on a minute, Hanson. We actually attach the sideboard.
And because of that notch,
just like that.
It won't fold
See,
in.
and now it doesn't, we don't have to hold it together or anything. The headboard holds itself up, no problem. And then we do the same on the other side.
Oh wait, can't put the other side on until the base is on one end.
That's not true.
Oh, that's right, because it all goes in the
Yeah. Put it up. So we put the two long sides up like this. As you see, it holds itself in place thanks to the miracle of humidity swelling. And then next we do the lower end.
This is the easy part.
Yeah, this is the easy part. Then you put the sides on like that. And then the other end like this. And sometimes because of humidity and swelling and storage, this only gets used once a year. There might be, wood is a natural material and it responds to climatic conditions. Now, if you don't want to bruise your fist by using it as a mallet, a rubber mallet is what you want. Do not use a metal mallet to bang wooden pieces together. Rubber mallet or a wooden mallet, but not a metal mallet. Okay, guys, you're going to cry if you use a metal mallet to put your wooden bed together. Okay, so now we've got our ropes.
Do you remember which one is the...
They're basically the same length, so it doesn't matter. So some people have sets of ropes that are like one length for one direction and one length for the other. I didn't feel like trying to track two different lengths of ropes, so all my ropes are the same length. So basically what we're now going to be doing is we're actually going to be weaving a grid in rope by going through one direction of the holes first and then the second direction. So I'm now going to actually set the camera back, and we're going to do this together because it goes faster if we do it together. Way faster if we do it together. Apologize for the movement, everyone. Okay. And this is very much a ground process. So back us out to here. Okay, so at this point, you're going to have to wait. Any questions or comments?
I'll send her over everyone's.
I will come over periodically to check in questions and comments, but for now we are definitely, this is why it's a okay. And this is how we do it. So first, you want to get all the rope through basically one set of holes. And one person, when you're first uncoiling the rope, it's natural had stubborn tendency is to knot on itself. Especially rope that's been coiled for a year, and you definitely picked the wrong start. So this is why it's a two-person process. One person pulls and the other person keeps it from coiling on itself. Because until you actually get it fully uncoiled, until you actually get it uncoiled, it will try to knot itself. Okay. It's still knotted up, and so you've still got it tucked up. It won't undo. So there are gloves. Can you have gloves now? No. Have you earned gloves? I don't think so, sir. Yes. Uncoil that. Yeah, so this kind of rope can act, or there's no difference other than there being a right and a left. Yeah. Gloves will certainly help, especially if you don't have sailor's hands. We're used to, pulling rough ropes day in and day out.
From the last.
Not certainly ever dry. Yeah, they're still a bit moist from the very first use.
Good.
Yeah, you pulled from the inside. Go
ahead.
So on the next coil, I'll demonstrate the best way to uncoil so that it doesn't completely knot on itself like this. And you all can hear the cicadas playing their lovely music. And I don't know about you, but cicadas just make me feel more hot. So yeah, yesterday, because of the thunderstorms that moved in, we had to help people, well, first off, the first set of storms on Friday night to Saturday caused a lot of people to flood. There wasn't flooding, but their tents flooded because their tents were either not watertight or they weren't trenched properly or whatnot. So a lot of people, some of our campmates had their things out drying, unfortunately, yesterday. And unfortunately for them, they couldn't just stay dry. Yeah, okay. So now the thing is, you're going to actually tie an end. So we have an end here, and you tie it around your starting point. And it doesn't have to be any kind of fancy knot. It really doesn't. This is not going to come undone. So I know some of you are probably tapping into your inner scout and, asking, well, is it a half shank or a double shank or a sheep shank or any other kind of shank? No, it's just a square knot. It's just a square knot. That's all you need. Okay, now, go back. No, before you do that, you need to pull through. Here. So he's going to stay on that side, and I'm going to stay on this side. And basically, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself because you just create piles of knots. You just pull. While he pulls, I pull. And then it doesn't create too much of a knotting situation. And we're not going to tighten it up yet. This is not the tightening phase. We're not there yet. We basically lace it first, and then we tighten. And I'm going to show you a completely unmedieval trick for tightening it. I've actually never had gloves to do this. I just gave myself blisters in past years. How great is that? And people ask me, do rope beds sag? Mine doesn't. I have no problem with sagging whatsoever. It's the key is that you get it nice and tight. But there are also ways to. There are also ways to. And then go ahead and release it back. There are ways to tighten it once it is threaded, so to say. And there's actually, in the 18th century, I think, they developed a tightening key, and I have one of those, but not here. I don't know where it is, actually. I know where it is. Oh, you do?
I just didn't bring it because you said you didn't need any of that bed.
Well, the tightening key, the really nice one that has instructions and everything?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was with all that other bed.
Should have brought the thing. But I don't know. I actually have zero evidence of a tightening key for medieval beds. And we don't even know necessarily that all medieval beds were rope beds. In fact, they probably weren't. We know for a fact, for instance, in the first millennium, and in Scandinavia going even long beyond the first millennium, they had slat beds, which are, very flat and very hard and would please Asians to no end because Asians do love a good hard bed. Okay, so here you go. Go ahead and take that. You actually don't need to pull it all. So you don't actually need to pull it all the way through before you move on to the next round, because the next person can finish up what was started. Now, some people leave 2 of the slats laced and then just undo one of the systems of lacings. But I tried that once and it made a mess, so I never did that again. And that could be because I don't know what the secret knack is for it, but I'm gonna assume that there must be a secret knack, otherwise my friends wouldn't do that. People generally don't do things that don't work.
The secret ingredient is laziness.
The secret ingredient is laziness. Yeah, but so there are slat beds also, but of course, here's the thing about a slat bed. It takes 2 to 3 times as much wood as a rope bed, and that weighs a lot more.
Way harder to carry.
Way harder to carry, way harder to transport. You need more storage space for it. So a rope bed is a great thing for medievalists, practitioners of living history, recreationists, LARPers, etc., who want a medieval, not medieval furnishings, but with minimal need to store and lower footprint on transport costs, etc. Because wood weighs a lot. Rope does not. And of course, rope definitely has more give than slats do. Slats, we all know the difference between rope and wood and what that would do for your back. And again, some people love a hard bed. You travel to Asia. One of my tips for Western travelers when they travel to Asia is to bring in a crate or some kind of sleeping pad with them, because the hotel beds might actually be too hard. Okay, so now we're going to get to the tightening phase. I'm going to come over and check for questions. This is super easy to set up. I can set this up by myself, Grizzy. No problem. Really. Let me see. It's similar to maintaining tension on slate frames for embroidery. Natural fibers have considerable natural stretch, so you have to regularly tighten. Yeah, so if you super tighten it at the beginning, which is what we're going to do, it actually, the wood actually naturally flexes in. And then if the rope's loosened, then the wood flexes out and takes up the tension. So it's actually pretty wonderful. Yeah. Okay. So, good morning, Stargazer. Thank you for joining us. Just looking back through the comments. Yeah, I'm so tempted to take off the project of converting my actual bed into a rope bed. Yeah, so I actually slept for years on a rope bed, and it was super comfortable. So here's the thing. What we're going to do we have ratchet straps?
I thought I saw them someplace.
Yeah, this is not difficult at all. It's super
simple. I'd set them aside.
Okay.
In all this.
So the trick that I usually use is actually ratchet straps, the kind that have the tip, tip, tip action going, right? So because you put one through the center, you ratchet this tight, you ratchet the wood in, give it flex it in some more, and then you tighten your ropes. And then when you release the ratchet strap, the ropes are super tight. The wood is slightly bowed in, not massively, and obviously you don't crack the wood, but wood does have flex. And then if the ropes loosen over time because they stretch, or if they contract because of cold and heat fluctuations at an event like this, it doesn't matter because the wood either flexes out or in depending on the rope. So it actually doesn't get saggy. Mine doesn't anyway. And that could be also because it hasn't been finished and varnished. This wood has just been stained. It hasn't been varnished, so it retains more of its natural flexibility properties. So we don't have any of the ratchet straps.
No, we did. I just don't know where to put them now.
Okay, well, failing ratchet straps, we're going to now go to the manual tightening phase. So this is where, make sure you can actually see us. this is where, can't actually see the screen, it's so bright. Okay, this is where, hey, Nancy, we're gonna take some heat. You might want to move that box. Get down and we use our feet. So the next tightening method is where you actually put your feet against it and pull.
On this one. Hold this one. On that one. This one. This one.
This is where it's good to have gloves.
This one.
Thinking myself that in previous years I didn't have gloves.
That one. You can see we've already gotten a lot of.
You can see we've got a lot of slack we've worked out. I'll hold on to that while I get to the other side of the hole. I am actually bracing it against my knees in part. Normally we have more room and we can actually get our feet into this.
You can hear all that creaking, maybe.
Yeah, so that creaking may sound alarming, but it's not as alarming
You
as
go
you
ahead and.
think it is. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
You don't want me to pull up that template?
that's what you have to pull, but you're the last for it.
Yes, I know, but I'm ready to pull.
Oh, yeah.
You need to let go. There we go. Okay. And the other thing is when we put the second set of ropes in, we'll actually get some more slack and then we can pull that through. So at the end, I just tie it around the end a couple of times and then tie it off. Try not to tie my shirt into it. I'm still wearing my setup clothes as I'm still setting up. And I refuse to set up in my medieval clothes because the Contessa doesn't set up her own shit, but Rachel does. Okay, so now we've got the first set of ropes done. And you can see there is definitely still some give in these. And what's going to happen is that now that they're stretched and there's warmth, they are going to stretch a little bit more. So we'll go back and adjust them after we do.
This is the outer rope.
Yeah, that is the outer rope. Good job.
You like to do the knot at the same spot, right?
Yeah. So now we move on to system number 2. So you can see we're tying it. Okay, pass it to me. Okay, so now we go under and over and under and over and under and over. And again, it's much easier with 2 people because one person can manage the initial uncoiling of the rope to make sure it doesn't knot on itself. And I hang on to the end so that it doesn't get lost and buried in the growing pile of rope at my feet. And yeah, this seems fussy, but you do it once over, well, either for our 2-week event, or you do it once and it becomes your bed. It's not like you have to keep undoing it and doing it again. We only have to do that because we, camp in places for certain periods of time and then take it down and go somewhere else.
Normally, a servant does this. So.
Yeah. A slat bed is, of course, certainly simpler. Okay, I'm going to start weaving it back now. So we go through the hole, and then you go the opposite on the next line. So this one ended over, so I start by going under. And the key is to not miss an over or an under or double straight it, because the ropes crossing against each other and alternating like woven fabric basically is what helps create the stability and the sturdiness of the net. So, right, that needs to get tied up. And you don't have to worry about these knots that you make. They're not going to come through because you don't sleep on the ropes. We have mattresses that go on the ropes. Oh, I forgot to get this wrong. This one might have to do a second live stream to show you making the straw, actually building the straw mattress. Yeah. Because for my bed at this event, I have a very medieval setup. I have a straw mattress, and then that's topped by a wool mattress, or well, what medieval people would have understood as a wool mattress, and then that's topped by a couple of feather mattresses. So I get the full layered effect. Now, for your back, I really recommend that you actually squat when doing this, and don't bend over at your hips like so many modern people do, modern Westerners especially.
Get it in?
Yep.
Under?
Yes. So remember, whenever you're working with natural materials, there will be stretch, there will be give, you will need to make adjustments. But really, this is so, once we get it done, it's so tight that it will not sag over the course of our event. And with all of the mattresses that we have, any sagging will be completely unnoticeable.
Yep.
And actually, if I were to do this more than once a year, which is my current rate of doing this, when I was doing like an event a month and putting together this bed, it was really fast. You get really efficient at it, right? There are efficiencies of, just like with exercise, if you do the same routine over and over, your body gets naturally good at it and lazy at it, actually. Sometimes you need to do that, not. That's why that's actually your most important job. What did you do? You let it knock on itself.
Okay.
And we actually have really solid evidence for the composition of the bedding itself, the mattresses and the blankets, because death inventories and expense accounts tell us about these layers, because they were inventoried for their value, and then in wills they were often bequeathed. You know, in 15th century English wills, you'll see things like, I bequeath my second best mattress to Bess, or I bequeath my third best feather bed to so and so. And then, you know, like in the Medici inventory, there's all kinds of bedding mentioned, all the grades, including straw mattresses, by the way. So we know absolutely the kinds of mattresses on which medieval people slept, and we know about the layering, because layering is often described in the death inventory of the Medici palace. They'll actually say, in this room there's a bed and it has this mattress topped by this mattress topped by that mattress, for instance. Then of course there's bedding, and then there's there's blankets and sheets. Pillowcases are absolutely a medieval thing. It's not just a modern invention. But beyond pillowcases, they also have these things called head sheets, which is like another layer to protect the pillow from your head. In England, for certain, and I'm pretty certain it has to do with protecting pillow from parasites, from mites and lice. And then that head sheet is a thing that's much more easily cleaned than, say, a pillow, an infested pillow. You can see the grid forming here. Just going to come and check the comments. Let me see. I love that blue and gold border.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh yeah, that's painted. Yeah, so that blue and gold border up on the inside of our walls, at the top of our walls, pavilion walls. Yeah, that is painted. And it was stenciled, but they had to manually, stencil each and every design, and then they painted it. I did not do that. We actually bought this from someone who had made them for their own pavilion, and then they stopped doing medieval enchantment stuff. So we got, I don't know, 30, how many feet?
30 yards.
30 yards of this painted trim for an absolutely ridiculous low amount of money. So yeah, it's we just basically we stick it up on the wall under the edges, under the ends of the pavilion spokes, under the edge of the pavilion spokes, and that holds it in place. So it's not sewn there, it's not pinned there, it's just held there by tension. So yeah, we love them, and we could put them on the outside, but my point is that we spend our time inside the pavilion. Why would I want the decoration to go on the outside where other people can see it maybe, but when I'm in the pavilion, I want my space to be.
I think we got enough. We could do outside and in.
Yeah, I think we do have enough that we can do both. But this pavilion is so old, I'm not going to attach anything to it. Okay, so here we have the finished grid, you can see, and now we're going to go through and we're going to tighten it up. Oh, Marcus, welcome to my channel. Yeah, I absolutely loathe AI, and you will never see AI shit on my channel. Never. AI does not write my scripts. AI does not do my research. AI does not produce my videos, and I don't even use it to do editing. So yeah. Yeah, okay, so I'm just going to go back through the comments now. Any possibility of posting the pattern for the wood frame of that? Takeda? Yeah, we can, Takeda, we can do some sketches. And but actually, yeah, so again, guys, so I told you I made this pavilion, right, myself, and I used that from a set of instructions on a website called greydragon.org. 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 This is the website that was maintained by Master Terrapon of beloved memory. He died in an actual jousting accident where his spear, he had a sharp spear and he was doing quintain running with the sharp spear, and the spear dropped butt first and the butt hit the ground and the spear thrust up into his spleen and he died on his horse. It was a remarkable jousting accident. This was 2018. No one could believe it. But honestly, if there was any way that Terrapon should have died, it was that. Honestly, it was that kind of guy. But his website has all these amazing instructions for making all your own medieval furniture, making pavilions, detailed instructions with calculators on, well, if you want it to be this long, then it needs to be this high, etc. greydragon.org. Best website out there for people who want to make their own medieval furnishings and tentings. Yeah. Yep.
And you definitely want to go with the natural ropes too. You don't want to get like the nylon.
Yeah, definitely go with the natural. And it's not just a question of authenticity. Go with the natural rope. So hemp, or what else do they make rope out of these days?
Hemp's the best one
Yeah,
for this.
hemp is the best one. Don't get nylon for many reasons.
Cotton won't work very well.
Cotton will stretch way too much. So you really want hemp rope, because it has the properties you want. Yeah, for certain. Yeah, and exactly. Big Joey, we can finally sleep tight. That is indeed the origin, apparently, of the expression to sleep tight.
That's what I was trying to think
is from having, the expression sleep tight comes from the idea of a rope bed and tightening it before you go to bed, because that is something they used to do. They would tighten the rope bed before they went to bed. And they actually had a special key for that, and we don't have it here. I don't know if the tightening key was medieval or not. We have no idea about that. But I think the key is documentable to the 18th century in the US at least. Yeah. Let's see.
You wanna?
Sorry, just looking. Is it oil paint? I want to do something similar. I do not think this is oil paint. I think it's. Let me smell it. I don't think it's oil paint. It's
got the nature of like acrylics, I think.
Well, except acrylic's water soluble, right?
Oh yes.
So it's definitely not acrylic. It might be some kind of modern outdoor paint, because obviously with all the effort they put into it, they were more interested in longevity than authenticity. So no, it is definitely not oil paint, because also oil paint would take a year to cure and you couldn't use it pretty quickly. So yeah, I'm pretty certain that this is probably some modern latex-based paint. Yeah, not oil paint. And and that's the thing. So Twitchy, that's a good point. Most people don't realize this, but banners and things like decorative bits, elements like these that are behind me, yeah, in the Middle Ages, they would have been oil paint. And so, you know, all these silkscreen banners that you see floating around medievalist events are actually not authentic. Silk screening is not a medieval technique. They would have been oil painted. So it would have been a very different flow than what we expect. We expect these beautiful silky banners whipping in the breeze. No, imagine stiff banner protruding from your banner pole in the breeze. Let me see, what would they have? Oh yeah, historically used instead. Okay, I think I accidentally answered your question in advance, Jimmy. Yeah, so it would have been oil paints. Yeah, it would have been oil paints. Yeah, my friend says it's been exceptionally rainy up there. Is it muddy? It is not muddy because it was very dry, thankfully, before this. And yeah, I'm pouring sweat, guys. It is like 98% humidity here today. Yeah, it is very, I do definitely, I'm looking forward to a cold shower shortly, honestly. But yeah, that's what happens. It has been exceptionally rainy for just the amount of time we've already been here. So it's been very squally. The rain is not, thankfully it's not been a steady rain. So it's not been raining the whole time, but it's been coming in spurts and powerful spurts at that. Let me see. I would have imagined it would be embroidery. So we do have evidence of like the cream of the crop, like the Duke of Burgundy, the King of England, the King of France. I've actually found references in inventories, in household inventories and expense accounts from the 15th century of embroidered pavilions, but they were an extreme luxury item. Normally they would have been painted. For certain, normally they would have been painted. Yeah. Yep. So yeah. Okay. So now,
Another thing you can do to tighten it is after you've finished doing everything up, done all the hand tightening that you can get wedges and put them in the strings.
So hold on a minute. So these spots here, yeah, for immediate acute tightening, shall we say, you can actually take a wooden wedge.
Yes.
We have wedges. Where did those wedges go? Just grab one of those. We can just demonstrate. Yeah. Yeah. So you can actually take little wooden wedges and put them in the ends of the ropes here for acute tightening. That's minimal effort. But now
these ones are too small, really.
Yeah, those probably are too small.
They'll get lost by the way.
We do have larger wedges somewhere. So that is one option for tightening it down. Okay, so here you can see
now,
the amount of flex that it has, right? There. Demonstration of the rope bed. Still pretty comfy.
it is actually.
Yeah.
It's like a scratchy hammock.
You're like a scratchy hammock, which is why a whole bunch of things are going to come on top of that. So unfortunately, we forgot we needed to buy the bale of straw to stuff the straw mattress ticking for you. So we're going to take a little break, everyone. We're going to go buy a bale on the live stream. We're going to go buy the bale of straw from the war room, it's called here. And then I'm going to show you how I stuff my linen mattress ticking with the straw and how we layer the bed together. And then also we'll show you how to hang the silk canopy, because I have a glorious red silk canopy with silk walls and everything that actually gets suspended over this. And then it creates that beautiful 15th century canopy bed effect. Yeah. I'm turning up my AC. Yeah, you should. You absolutely should. Twitchy Witch says it was time consuming and extremely expensive as you were using fabric that was cut into shapes that couldn't be used thereafter. Yeah, absolutely, Twitchy. 100%. Yeah, so Twitchy, there is in Charlotte, the Queen of Savoy, or sorry, Charlotte de Savoie, Queen of France, she had an embroidered pavilion. Yeah, Michael, it's like hashtag life goals is to be like Queen Charlotte of France. Yeah. Okay, so are there any questions now that we have the rope bed set up? You can see we're just doing some last minute tightening. The cheater is, if you have your own rope bed, the cheat is to get one of those ratchet straps like you used to strap things down in a car or attach things to a car, and then just ratchet it across both dimensions, tighten your ropes, and then release the ratchet. And that gives you the right kind of flex you need in your wood, so that even both bowed in, basically lightly bowed in, so that even if the ropes stretch, then the bowed wood just loosens a little bit and catches that tension, that slack, and it still remains tight. You know, that take advantage of the bowed effect. So you can even see, maybe you can see that there is already a slight bowing happening on both sides there.
We did it pretty good.
Yeah, you can see that. So what that means is that as things heat up, literally here, as the ropes loosen, then the wood will just flex out and take up that slack. So it's really quite comfortable. Will you be showing pudding on the bedding? Yes. So for those who are just joining us, I'm so sorry. The humidity apparently soaked my brain and made me forget before we got started that I wanted to get a bale of straw. So we're going to go purchase said bale of straw.
We'll even use the car so it goes quicker.
We're going to do something I never freaking do, which is use a car to do that. Because normally I just walk up the hill, get the bale of straw, and haul it back like a good Contessa. But apparently we're going to use the car. So we're going to go fetch a bale of straw. And we're going to come back and we're going to show you how to put the bed together in all of its layers, with the straw ticking, with the wool mattresses, the feather mattresses, you know, making the bed. And then we will show you, and I'll show you the pile of red silk that's over here. Then we will show you how we hang the canopy. And I will tell you that it's been a while since I hung this canopy in this tent. I haven't hung this canopy in this pavilion since
2016?
No,
2016? 17?
Oh yeah, maybe 17, 2017. Yeah. I haven't hung that canopy in this bed since 2017. So yeah, long time ago. So you're going to see it's a different space, because normally actually that little pavilion right there is the pavilion I have been using for Pennsic. It's much, much smaller, and the spokes have different positioning. So you're going to be watching us do some creative hanging, because unfortunately these suspended canopies from the 15th century are designed to be hung in rectilinear spaces with clean corners you can just shoot the ropes off to. This is not a rectilinear space. It's literally a dodecahedral. What did that happen?
I was checking something.
Oh, this is literally a dodecahedron, this pavilion. So it doesn't have nice neat corners like that. So there's always a little bit of fussing that goes along with it. Yeah. Oh, you're going to Visby, Jenna. So cool. Enjoy. Visby's wonderful. Yeah, so the feathers in mine, the lower layer is duck feathers. I've a 2-layer feather mattress. The lower layer is duck feathers, the top layer is down. And you definitely want to have the down on top, because duck feathers on themselves are kind of pokey, but down is just super soft and wonderful. So if you're going to do feather mattresses, the part that actually gives the support, that should be the proper duck feathers or goose feathers. But then the top layer, there should be a top layer on top of that of down, and that's what mine has. It's a 2-layer thing.
You're using the same link and same.
Let me see. Do you dress the bed? Yeah. Okay. Whatever. This is not a Mongolian house. This is a 15th century style of pavilion that was used in France, Italy, Germany, Spain, England, probably Ireland as well when they had them. So yeah, this is not a yurt, even though it has that hub and spoke thing, which yurts also have. It is not a yurt.
Gonna go make sure the car turns.
Yep, definitely not a yurt.
You think we should put stuff?
Yeah, Contessa has servants with a nice little hay cart, so it's appropriate. I agree. Let's see. So the wonderful thing about this pavilion is, well, actually on the small version, the one that's over here, I can set that up literally all by myself. In fact, if you look on any of my channels, my YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, whatever, I have a short video from last year showing me setting that little one up all by myself, because it's super light. This one I can set up mostly by myself. I just need help with the center pole, because the center pole is super duper heavy. And the pavilion, the center pole isn't super duper heavy. This pavilion weighs 3 times what that other one does, because it's 3 times as big. So that canvas is really heavy. So we do need 2 people to pop up in the center pole. But otherwise, this thing goes together real quick, 20 minutes and it's done, right? It's a really quick and easy kind of style of pavilion to put together. Where did you get your medieval bedding? So I'm gonna say that I actually managed to find modern equivalents of medieval bedding pretty well, and I don't even know how I did it. I usually shop online for that kind of stuff, because it's esoteric and it's not something you can just kind of get at any given store, you know? So, So I'm pretty certain I found the feather mattress on eBay, maybe. And actually Costco, for those of you who live in places where there are Costco's, you can actually get wool comforters and down comforters there that basically imitate the feather mattresses that medieval people would have had, because their idea of a mattress wasn't the same as ours, right? If you look at depictions of medieval beds that are made up, then they're rounded, right? They're really, really rounded. And that's because they're multiple layers of what we might even just call a duvet. They're not really super thick. They're not really dense. And that's intentional, because you want to be able to easily remove them from the bed and drape them out the window to air them out. That's actually mentioned in the book of Nurture, the 1461 Book of Nurture. The Chamberlain's job is to take apart the bed and air out the mattresses so that they're all fresh. Well, if you have this giant, like we think of as a modern mattress, you can't just easily take that off the bed and air it out, right? So that's why medieval bed systems were multi-layered. And, by layering different, wool, straw, wool, and feathers, you get a really good circulatory effect. It's antimicrobial. The wool is antimicrobial. And so, you've got the stiffness of the straw, the softness and antimicrobial nature of the wool, and then, the luxury of the down and the feathers. So yeah, that is why you have all this. Is there a reason y'all use straw instead of buckwheat shells? Straw is documentable to Western Europe. Buckwheat shells are definitely not for bedding. At least I haven't seen buckwheat shells mentioned in any primary source from the Middle Ages in Western Europe. Straw is also, the nice thing about straw is that I can buy a bale of straw here for $7 US, use it for 2 weeks, and then just sprinkle the straw out on the ground when I leave, and it's good. So it also makes having a straw mattress for medieval living history means that you need significantly less storage space and less transport space, because you just get the straw at the place you're going. Of course, that requires you to actually be having an event at a place that sells straw, and I'm fortunate about that there. But yeah, buckwheat shells or buckwheat groats, I have never seen that here, but it would be so expensive to fill a mattress with buckwheat groats. Holy God. I can't even imagine how much that would cost. That would be crazy. Whereas the straw is $7 for the whole bed. Yeah. Yeah, the blue gold trim, she's really beautiful. And no, the pavilion otherwise is a mess because we haven't had a chance to do anything for ourselves until today, basically. Let me see. Do you have a shop at Pennsic or just having fun? No, not just having fun. Pennsic's definitely, I don't have a shop, but I teach lots of dance classes throughout the event. So I've got like at least 2 dance classes a day, at least 2 hours of dance. Medieval dance I'm teaching a day, usually 3 to 4 though. I'm hosting a ball. I'm hosting a picnic. I'm going to host a Creative Contessa reception. Stay tuned for the date. I haven't had a chance to look at my schedule for this event and see when I have a slot for that. And I've been setting up other people's camps and tents before now. Yeah, so no, I definitely do not have a shop. And it is not just fun. This is definitely a working event for me. Let me see. I am 안녕하세요. 뭐예요? Yeah. Oh, and that actually says 안녕하세요. Okay. 안녕. I am American. Yes. Let me see. The Book of Nurture was written by a man called John Russell, and is not a gospel. And it was written in 1461, and it is instructions for etiquette and also how to do your job in a court. So there's different jobs in a court, and each of those jobs has a specific set of instructions. The sun has come out. Has a specific set of instructions, and the whole idea of the Book of Nurture is to tell you how to do your job properly, how to eat properly at table, how to serve your Lord, how to dress your Lord, how to bathe your Lord, how to do the job of marshal, how to do the job of steward. There's all kinds of fantastic instructions there. Yeah. How do you acquire down feathers? Again, if you know where there's a goose farm, you can get them from there. Or you can buy, you can order these things online. eBay's actually a good place for things like that. A lot of farms, goose farms, in fact, sheep farms too, actually sell things like wool, raw wool, and feathers on eBay. So if you do a search, you can usually find them there. Can't you buy straw like at an animal zoo shop? Oh, you can buy straw at feed shops, right? Animal feed shops too. But yeah, so I guess if you're, depends on where you are, whether you might have access to such stores or not. It's pretty likely in the US, it's less likely in places like Korea, for instance. Will we see? Yes, once the tent is all beautiful, I'm going to give you a tour. I will do a proper cribs style tour of the pavilion. I promise. Once it's all beautiful and set up, you will definitely get to see the thing. Yeah, in the medieval period, straw would have been everywhere in Western Europe. It's just absolutely ubiquitous, as Twitchy says. Does the Book of Nurture cover Mistress of Jewar robes for the lady? It does not. It does not, but I just assume that because the Book of Nurture, all these books are written by men and for men, right? But I'm pretty certain that the Book of Nurture, the things, the way, the order of operations that's described and the tasks that are described for the Chamberlain are the same as for a lady, as they were for a lord. Robert, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Oh, from Kenya. Fantastic. Thank you. That's excellent. So yeah, I think the bale of straw came back. Oh, he doesn't know where to go. Right. Okay. So I forgot that my condottiero doesn't know where the war room is. Okay, everyone. So any last questions before we go and purchase the straw? So we'll put a pause on the live stream. And I don't think I can just pause it. I think I have to end it and I'll start a new one. And when we come back, we'll be putting the bed together. So we've actually got the rope bed all strung up, as you can see. And so the next step is to stuff the mattress ticking with straw and then layer it on with the wool and down feather mattresses, make it up, put the bedspreads on, and then hang the silk canopy, which will be hung from those spokes up there, which will require some fiddling, which can be frustrating sometimes, but there it is. Yeah. Let me see. Oh, greetings from China. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome. It's honestly a process of getting to know people and just being brave enough to reach out. Commerce has been radically changed by capitalism, and the idea of shops are just so new comparatively. Yeah. So it's funny. People have forgotten that you can actually go to farms and get things there. Yeah, I know the glove comes off, the glove goes on. I don't know why, because they're a little big, so they make me a little crazy, but they keep my hands from getting blistered, so I guess I don't care. Yeah, so for many of these raw materials, you just have to figure out where the raw material comes from, and then magic of internet searches, do an internet search for a farm that's local to you, and they will probably sell you those materials. So if you can find a goose farm, for instance, reach out to the goose farm. You can get goose down. Straw, you can get from, any farmer who actually has fields of hay. They will sell it, absolutely, but also feed stores would. Generally when I'm looking for something, I do an internet search and then I can almost always find what I'm looking for. Etsy has actually been really helpful for a lot of these, like, medieval raw materials, I have to say. Okay, let me see. What is the rope made of? The rope is made of hemp. So that is hemp rope. And I definitely recommend hemp rope. I do not recommend nylon or any other synthetic, and cotton rope will stretch way too much. You really want hemp rope like that. Yep. Didn't realize it was already Pennsic time and scroll past. Have a great time. Thank you, Charlotte. Let's see. So sleep on the ground, not for 2 weeks. Thank you very much. The ground can get cold. In fact, it's going to get cold here by summer standards. At the end of this coming week, it is actually temperatures are supposed to get down to around 8 or 9 at night in centigrade, or 50 Fahrenheit for those who monitor temperatures in that manner. So no, you do not want to sleep on the ground when it's that cold. You just don't. No, we're here for 2 weeks, so it's not too much effort, right? For a weekend, would I do this? Probably not. But for 10 days or 2 weeks, it's, not too much. Yep.
Okay, stay here. Talk to your
You don't know where to go, do you?
I don't.
Yeah, no. So no, I have to, because you'll never find it.
Of course I won't find it by myself.
Yeah.
Your dad's taking me
to the war room.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna go get the.
Okay, so apparently my people are going to go and purchase the straw and come back. Okay, so are there any other questions about the rope bed itself? The nice thing is it's flat pack. You take the ropes off and it turns into a pile of lumber and can fit basically anywhere. And again, I mentioned that we did not varnish this or give it any kind of real finish. It's just stained, and that's on purpose because then it retains more of its natural flexible properties and will actually, work better. Yeah, no, my condottiere is going to go get the straw. It's all good. Yeah, the rope bed is definitely the way to go. Oh, it's frozen water. So let me just show you some of the nice furnishings we have here in our camp that will eventually go in. So under this pile of silk is actually a wooden chest, but inside that wooden chest is a modern cooler. And that's because it is way too hot here to not have a cooler. And also because some of you might not know this, but medieval encampments relied on the ability to plunder and get fresh ingredients from a local farm basically every day as they needed them, and usually not by giving money for them. So yeah, we're not going to go plunder a local farm. Also, the local farms don't make edible things. They grow soy and corn and all the kind of modern crap that people grow these days instead of real food. So yeah, we have coolers. We call them larders, of course, and there are medieval ice boxes. That is a thing. By the 15th century, they had what we would call an ice box in the 19th century America, where they're basically these beautiful wooden sideboard-looking cabinets, and on the inside they're lined in lead, and then you would actually put ice inside of them to chill things like wine. They weren't meant for refrigerating food, they were meant for refrigerating wine. It's important to have cool wine in the 15th century. Do I use a period accurate stain for lumber? I'm going to confess openly, I did not make this bed. Someone made it for me, so I don't know. Possibly, quite possibly, but I didn't make it, so I couldn't actually tell you. Yeah. Let me see. Not about the bed, if you don't mind me asking. Were embroidered wall hangings just a castle thing? We have a bunch here, and I'm not sure if it's because of all the castles. Oh, no. So you're not talking about embroidered, although you might be. So there's different kinds of... Sorry, let me turn this around. There are different kinds of wall hangings from the Middle Ages. There's applique wall hangings. There are embroidered wall hangings, but the wall hangings that covered the biggest amount of space, the most luxury ones were tapestry, and that's not embroidered, that's woven. That's a specific kind of weave, and it's not just castles. So we do know that people of the middling sort had painted wall hangings. Oh, painted is another option. Painted wall hangings. We know that people of the middling sort had applique wall hangings, which means you have a ground of fabric and then you cut out shapes and you applique that shape on in a diaper pattern, meaning a repeat pattern all across it. And then there are absolutely embroidered hangings. The Bayeux tapestry is not a tapestry, it's an embroidery. It's an embroidered. In wall hanging it's not even the right word because it's this very narrow. Most people don't realize the Bayeux tapestry is only about this wide, and it's 200 something or 300 something feet long. I know Twitchy will remember how long it is. It's extremely long, but it's not very wide. So it almost seems like it's more one of these borders that was meant to go around the top of top of the wall of the room. So no, it's not just a castle thing. Monasteries also had such wall hangings. Definitely not just a castle thing, but they were ubiquitous. They were absolutely ubiquitous. And some of them have survived. Some of them have survived well. But unfortunately, in the 19th century, the Victorians took a lot of medieval tapestries. Not so much the embroideries, but they took the medieval tapestries and they cut them up to make curtains out of them. So some museums, like the Cloisters, the Metropolitan Museum of Art Cloisters in Yonkers in New York, they've now reacquired some of those tapestries that were turned into curtains, and they've actually restored them by attaching them back together. But that also means that a lot of them haven't necessarily survived. Yeah. Let's see. Other questions? Sorry if I missed any questions. Let me see. Yeah, so it's a mixed question. Root cellars, yeah, root cellars are great, but you're not going to have a root cellar in your camp. So medieval homes and castles, especially manor houses, had larders, and they were what are called root cellars now. Yeah, so they understood the idea of using the much milder or even colder temperatures of the ground to keep things cool. But even still, and they actually, meat went into larders, egg went into larders, dairy went into larders, not just roots and fruits and vegetables. Everything went into the larder. But that was, we can't, I could, I guess, if I really felt like just spending 2 weeks digging, I could dig a larder here, a proper cellar, but I'm not going to do that. So we have ice chests for that. Yeah. Therefore, I read that the Bayeux tapestry is going to be exhibited, but forgot where. Yeah. Embroidery is so time consuming and wouldn't be used as the sole form of decoration, but woven tapestries were very popular amongst the wealthy classes. Yeah, for certain. I'm a new subscriber. Welcome, Magic Maddie. Thank you for joining us. I would love everyone to come sing karaoke songs with us 3 nights a week. We have so much fun. I also play guitar and do reaction videos. Oh, hi, Magic Maddie. Well, appreciate the invitation. Yeah, so there are, and we have records of embroidered wall hangings. Many of them didn't survive, but we do have plenty of records of them. So they were a thing, but it would be very unlikely that you would cover the whole chamber in something made of embroidery. The Bayeux tapestry is one of those weird exceptions, but that was a cast of like dozens, hundreds even working on it. That was not just one person or even 2 people. That was a massive undertaking by the nuns at that convent. So let me just show you. Oh shoot, sorry. Let me just turn the camera around and I'll show you some of our furnishings that are patiently waiting to join the inside of the pavilion. I just heard some thunder. So we have this chest, and then some of you saw me set this up the other day. This is actually a chest settle. So it's a bench with a chest in it. Right. So you actually lift this up. I don't know why this is so loose. Hold on a minute, everyone. Something has happened to my. Okay, there we go. Okay. This is a new tripod, so I'm still figuring it out. So this is a bench. You can sit on it. And it's swing back, which means that the back can actually go on either side. Right, so you can move the back. It's attached better. And but the best part is on the inside, there's also a chest, and you can store things inside of it. So it's not just taking up room for seating, it is also providing handy storage. And chest settles are absolutely a medieval thing. This is a semi-replica of one that's actually in the Berlin Museum für angewandte Kunst, or whatever they call that these days. Yeah. So yeah, we have a lot of lovely things. And then this chest was made by a craftsman who's actually here at Pennsic, Dupuy Creations. And yes, it is made using medieval methods and techniques of joinery, and only using medieval materials or replica medieval materials. But medieval chests on average would have certainly been for especially high, well-heeled people would have been painted and beautifully decorated and or carved. This is obviously a very, very simple one. So, but I don't have an unlimited budget like certain people did in the 15th century. And we have one of our, over here, we have one of our trestle tables right there. It has not been finished in any way, shape, or form. It just is a trestle table. I put a tablecloth over it, so it doesn't matter. And this is normally from last year, if you see the pavilion in which I did a video of my short setting it up last year. This is the one I set up last year and slept in and have been sleeping in, but finally I actually have my proper full pavilion again. Very, very happy to have that. So this is going to be our storage pavilion where we'll keep the larders with all the food and our supplies, and also an arming tent. This will also be an arming tent. Yep. Oh yeah, the Bayeux tapestry was definitely not a wall hanging for warmth. It was decorative propaganda, 100%. 100%. Let me see. The museum I work at spent 5 years doing a Bayeux style tapestry. It's so interesting to see so many people work on one thing. I really prefer collaborative efforts. I think they're the best, honestly. Okay. We call them a monk seat because they were popular in monasteries for personal storage. Yeah, I think the medieval term is actually settle, I think, in the 15th century. Yeah, the bench is great. Oh, this bench also actually breaks down. It is held together by hinges on the inside, and it breaks down into a flat pile of wood. So it's also 100% portable. So we're talking generally. Normally I'm talking 15th century. The Bayeux tapestry is 11th century though, like dates to like 1080-ish. Let's see. I was at Bamberg Castle today and thought about this channel. Oh, lovely. Bamberg. Which Bamberg? Which Bamberg Castle? There's several different places known by that name. What wood is your bed made out of? I'm pretty certain that the bed is pine. Yeah. The smaller pavilion looks like the humongous beast had offspring. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, this is the smaller one, the baby pavilion. Yeah, we actually got that pavilion for a very good deal. I think I've turned this around too many times and I've unscrewed it. Yep, I have. Okay. Screw it back in. Yeah, unfortunately, I just unscrewed the tripod. Sorry, everyone. Hopefully the condottiere will be back very soon and I can demonstrate the setting up of the straw. So I actually have examined the pavilion, my big one, that has been in storage for a very long time. And I've actually found some spots where I need to do repairs. I am in the US right now. Yep, I'm in Western Pennsylvania and encamped north of Pittsburgh. So there's actually a couple of spots I found that really do need repair. And I'll show you those spots. And I was going to do them yesterday, but instead I ended up setting up pavilions for other people. So yeah, so this is the system that we use to stake it up, loop in loop. And that allows a very easy replacement of this loop will wear out because it's exposed to the iron from the stake. By the way, iron stakes don't seem to be a thing in the 15th century. They should be wood, really. So when this wears out, then I can replace just that, and this loop can stay intact. So it makes it easy to replace the pavilion, the stake loops, instead of having to rip off the entire thing from the pavilion itself. Yep. This is actually not Amish country. Western Pennsylvania, there aren't many Amish people here, really. We'll see. Unfortunately, my entire schedule of activities has just kind of been shot to hell by the unexpected everything, basically. The unexpected weather, I wasn't expecting to spend 12 hours yesterday setting up another encampment and someone else's tent, et cetera, et cetera. So the whole schedule's kind of gotten shot to hell. We'll see. My priority is to get my living space set up. And we'll see what happens to the scheduled medieval sewing party. So unfortunately, stay tuned. You'll have to be a little flexible about when things are scheduled because there's a lot of variables that I can't really predict here at all. I have family here, and obviously I have obligations to support my family in things, especially I have my father here who's 75 years old, and I'm not going to let him haul heavy stuff around. Yeah. Sorry, I closed my eyes for that merry-go-round. Apologies. Yeah. Oh, Twitchy Witch, that's excited. You found an early medieval group. And there's another 1400s group you want to join. That's fantastic. Good for you. I hope they are, I'm confident they're the friendlier and more accepting sort. Let's see. I think I showed these the other day, but I'll show them again. These are our chandeliers, right? And these also flat pack. They completely break apart, right? There's a screw on the bottom, and know that that part is not medieval, but there's a screw on the bottom, and these two just slot into each other. You can see the slot. And then this is a separate piece, and so it packs into a nice, neat little stack of 3 pieces, 2 boards and this dowel, basically. And you can also find the pattern for this on greydragon.org, greydragon.org, just like for the bed, just like for the pavilion itself. You can find instructions on how to make this. And this is based on actually a depiction in Roi René's Livre du Tournoi, King René's Book of the Tournament. If you look at the chandeliers that are above them in the Helmschau scene, in the scene when they're judging the helmets, and there's a judge who's rejected a torso and mantle so thoroughly that he cast the helmet upon the ground, right? If you look up above at the chandeliers, they look very much like this. Now, those chandeliers have tapers for candles. This one is designed for tea lights, which are a modern thing, but we have safety to consider because this is being used inside of a pavilion and hung from these spokes. So if I were to hang this from these spokes and put tapers, then they just as likely they're going to set the spokes on fire. So for that, we use tea lights instead. Yeah. Oh, Ken, welcome to my channel. Yeah, no, I'm definitely real live stream. Me all the time. No AI. Don't like AI. Yep. Local medievalist is a bishop reenactor who is equally nuts about medieval monasticism. Well, that's super cool. I'm really glad to hear that, Twitchy. Yep. Yeah, so these are the chandeliers. So we actually do light our pavilion this way, and you'd be surprised at how much light tea lights will cast off. So I have 3 of these, and we scatter them about the pavilion. And smokers, God, they're so okay. If you're a smoker out there, please smoke in a way that you're not perfuming the air for everyone, because most of us aren't smokers, and honestly, it gives me a headache. Yeah. Anyway, rant off. Yeah, so these actually create plenty of light, enough light that I can sew by actually in this pavilion at nighttime. And what's really lovely is with these, when these are all illuminated, then from the outside, you can actually see the flickering light, candlelight reflecting on the ceiling of the pavilion. So it really creates a magical effect. And I do plan on doing, once everything's actually set up and people are actually medievaling here, I do plan on doing a live stream tour at night. So you can see how things look at night, if you can see anything at night. Yeah, I bet you bedeck your camp in oil lights. Yeah, it's pretty gorgeous. I have a replica oil lantern as well, actually. I bought it from Historic Enterprises. I don't know where it went, but okay. So I have a replica oil lamp. Okay, this is a authentic medieval oil lamp replica of an original excavated from, I think, Delft. Some Dutch some Dutch canal city, right? So this is an oil lamp, and you can actually hang it if you want. So that's what these 2 holes are for. So you can actually suspend it up here if you want to have actually suspended light. And it actually has a cotton wick, and that's authentic. Cotton, they did have cotton in the Middle Ages. It just had different applications than it does now. So you actually have a cotton wick, and I use olive oil. But I will admit that I do not, for my, as much as I wish I had the money to, just burn expeller or, extra virgin olive oil, organic, raised by local olive farmers, I don't. So I go, for those of you who have a Costco, I go to Costco and I get their olive oil blend, which is a mix of refined olive oil and virgin olive oil. I would never eat this, but I will use it to burn oil lamps. So yeah, this is actually, we actually do use olive oil to burn our oil lamps, and it smells divine. So don't use lamp oil for oil lamps. Use olive oil. It is the authentic choice for literally thousands of years. Well, thousands of years in places like the Mediterranean, or that have our trade routes with places where there are olive groves. Obviously, if you're in Western Asia, you have a different kind of oil. Or Western Asia, Jesus. If you're in Eastern Asia, you have a different kind of oil. Just saying. But if you're doing a European version of the wealthy people had access to nice oils. Poorer people had tallow, and that smelt more like sometimes not so fresh meat, like rancid meat in some cases. Yeah, it even has drip catches. Yep. It's very clever. So exactly. So it's 2 parts, right? So this part here, this saucer-like bit, is a drip catch. And also, it's kind of like an extra bit of protection from the fire too, from the flame itself. Yeah. Many vessels can be oil lamps. I get those wee yogurts and use the glass cup. Oh yeah, that's a good, yeah. I mean, so an oil lamp, people think an oil lamp has to be this fancy thing. No, you're absolutely right. You can get any non-flammable vessel, put oil in it, put a wick in it, and as long as the wick is able to stay out of the oil, then it can work as an oil lamp. 100%. Yep. Let me see.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Yeah, these are not particularly hard. These it's very obviously wheel turned. You can definitely see the wheel turned. It still has a price tag on the bottom. That's crazy. I paid $12 for this like 20 years ago. Yeah, and you can see. So you see this black? That is what's called lamp black. And this is actually a commodity in the Middle Ages, and actually could be a commodity now for people who are doing medieval living history or calligraphy and illumination, for instance, because lamp black can be used to make black paint, black pigment. It's a black pigment, right? And you can also use it for ink. So lamp black, as it's called that because it's literally the soot, the burnt oil, right, from burning the oil in your oil lamp. And you can actually scrape this off. Normally you can scrape it off. Oh, wow, my fingernails are extra ugly. Oof. You can actually scrape that off and use it to make paint. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, so in terms of oils, yeah. So in terms of oils, medieval, so the lower classes in medieval society in the 15th century anyway, their lighting, they wouldn't have had access to beeswax candles because those were expensive even then. We think, oh, well, they're expensive now. No, they were expensive then too. They would have rush lights, which is basically where you take the core of a reed and you take a strip, you rip it into strips, and then you actually dip that in tallow, depending on where you are, beef tallow, and then the nature of the core of the reed is actually absorbent. And so it acts like a sponge and the tallow gets absorbed by it. And then you actually have rushlight holder, which I have somewhere. I'll show you when we get set up. I'll show you my candlesticks. They're awesome. They had rushlight holders. You would actually stick the rushlight in it and light it, and then that would provide light. But the light would have been very dim relative to candles or to an oil lamp. And it also would have smelled possibly not particularly great. And it would have sputtered and it would have been smokier than a beeswax candle. Beeswax candles are famous for burning very, very cleanly.
Still need to tie the corner.
We still need to tie the corner
Of the bed?
of the bed. Yeah, we do. Okay, so our delivery of straw has arrived. Oh, we just need one. We don't even need a whole one. Oh boy. Okay. If you're a Pennsic and you need a bale of straw, come and see me because we only needed half a one for a bed. So, okay. You could just. Thank you, Papa. Okay, so let me tie this rope off. Yeah, okay, so just so you know, you only need about 3/4 of a straw. Can we return them?
Probably not.
We only need 3/4 of one for a mattress.
What?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right.
Yeah, well, it gets fluffy. You fluff it out. So there's the bales of straw for those who don't know what a bale of straw is. And it's all compact because it's been machine compacted, but when you fluff it out, it takes up a lot more room. And that's what we're going to do for our mattress. So apparently we never actually tied off this end.
I know, I went through and I kept tightening it, so I couldn't tie it off.
Well, no, I thought we'd also go through and do another tightening. So we're going to go through and we're going to do another tightening because it's had time now to loosen the ropes up. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. Might have a go of making one for myself. Let me see. Yeah, $12 was a great price. Even in 2005, $12 was a great price.
For what? Oh, for the chair?
No, the oil.
Oh, the oil. Oh, yeah, it's a cute oil.
Okay. So now that the bed has had some time to loosen in the heat of the day, we're going to go ahead and give it another tightening.
It's hotter in here. Grab your gloves.
Grab my gloves. Yeah, I'm going to put the gloves back on. I know you guys kept observing me taking them off and putting them on and taking them off and putting them on. Anyway, yeah. You mentioned the smell. Could they put herbs in the oil to make the equivalent of our scented candles? Maybe stupid question. I've never used an oil lamp. I mean, they could have, but I don't have evidence of it myself. Maybe I'll stumble across that. You know, I'm constantly exploring. I mean,
they know about pomanders. They know about scented this.
Yeah, medieval people loved scenting things, especially with herbs that would repel pestilence, miasma, and pests in general. So it makes sense that they could have. I just haven't found the evidence of it, but maybe I will. You know, maybe I will. Yeah, I'm going to show you guys the Todd Carver candlesticks for those who know, or the Todd Cutler candlesticks. Yep. Wait, the light and the grass tree color seems like the Appalachian Mountain chain. Feels like Northern Virginia. I am in Western Pennsylvania, so I'm in the Alleghenies, which is part of the Appalachian range. So yep, 100%. Okay, let's go ahead and work on tightening. Where are you? Which way are we working?
Pull that way.
So we're just going to go ahead and give it another tighten. You can see that it has loosened, and we actually have.
We also laid on it.
Yeah, we also laid on it and stretched it, and
even then, it was like what, 3-4 inches of extra rope.
Yeah.
Even though we laid on it, so you can see how well it stays hot. Good Lord, it's hotter in your tent than it is outside.
Yes, it is. That's because I stupidly didn't build a back door into my pavilion, which I should have. I regret that. If I were to make another of these, I would absolutely put a back door in, not necessarily to be a door, but just to open it so you can get cross breeze. Because the reality is that I'm not using these generally in, well, no one is anymore using them in medieval weather conditions, because those conditions don't exist anymore, because we're in a climate heating phase. So, do we want to do the other direction now? Tighten on the other side.
Part of the key to tightening too, to not let your rope go up too high, because then you're not letting it tighten in the right direction.
Yeah, pull it perpendicular to the board, not upward.
This way.
Ah, nobody. Okay.
Always pull in the right direction.
So it's a little bit of a workout. I'm just going to give it one more tighten before we lay on the mattress. And also I have to decide what we're going to do with our carpet situation.
Okay.
Oh. Could you hold that top away? Because I have to untie it.
Mm-hmm.
These gloves are meant for someone whose hands are way bigger than mine.
They're my gloves. Case in point. Here. Can they see you? There you go.
So yeah, we just got another 8 inches of rope out, so that's where we're going to leave it. And if we need to tighten it, we can, like I said, we can add wedges into the ends here, as we need wooden wedges, as we need to if we want to take up more slack. But generally, it's not really going to be a thing.
The ticking also, or the mattresses also fluff it out.
Okay. In fact, we have a lot more extra rope than I usually have, so interesting. So I just take the excess and I just wrap it around and around to keep things nice and neat. I usually don't have this much excess, I'll be honest. There's that. Okay, so we also have actually a couple of extra carpets to put down. And we know that turkey rugs, as they're called in a charming 1620 translation of the Decameron, turkey rugs are absolutely a medieval thing. They were imported heavily by members of the upper class. They were not just used, though, for rugs, for ground rugs. They often actually use them as tablecloths, because really proper turkey rugs, Persian rugs, as we might call them, Oriental rugs, are super flexible and will flex and drape nicely over a table, for instance. But we do know that they did also use them as ground coverings as well. And we know that the Duke of Burgundy, when he died stupidly in 1477, that he actually had turkey rugs in his belongings because they were sacked by the triumphant Swiss armies, Swiss mercenaries, and taken back to Switzerland. So, okay, let's move the bed. And you'll see this bed is really light. Like it's not, it's as light as could be. It really is. I could move this myself if I needed to. No problem.
You don't want it touching the core.
Yeah. Okay, so thing about canvas pavilions, and actually this is true of nylon, I think. You'd never want something actually pressing into the walls because when it rains, any spot where you're pressing into the walls, the rain will actually leach through at that point. So ideally, if you can, you don't want the headboard, for instance, down there actually poking into the wall. Now, that being said, I will tell you, handsome, that in my small pavilion, it had to be. There was no choice about that.
This one, it doesn't.
It doesn't have to be this.
Yeah.
And so you might be saying, oh, but there's all that wasted space behind the bed. But is it wasted or does it become storage space? Or better yet, and this is a true story, it becomes a space where a servant can sleep. Yes, for real. Let me see. Comments, questions? Talking about the herbs. Yeah, good points, Witchy, all the way around. You know, one could make an argument that given the ritual origins of the medieval period, you could argue that there is evidence for scenting candles as standard or common practice. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I won't say it wasn't done. And I expect I might find evidence in some of these more recent sources I've been exploring talking about medieval housekeeping specifically. So where did I put what? Oh, it's in this, it's there. So I wanted to point something else out. So this is my silk canopy. Okay. Now I'm going to show you the color of the silk when I made it was this red. This is the silk walls. They have not been bleached by the sun that comes through the top of my pavilion, the UV. This is side-by-side comparison. This is from bleaching from the UV light that penetrates the canvas of my pavilion. The original red and the red after multiple years, like a couple of weeks a year, just a couple of weeks a year being as hung in this pavilion or in this pavilion exactly. So I just want you all to realize that you are not protected from the sun under canvas. You still need a sunblock. I've gotten burnt sitting under canvas before, and that the way that you've got orange compared to red from exactly the same bolt of silk should visualize just how much UV is actually getting through the canvas. Yeah. Space where a sword can't reach your head. Yep. So yeah, you might see here also that there's storage up there in the spokes, but I think you're talking about the space behind the headboard so that no one can just stick a sword in and get you while you're sleeping. That's a healthily paranoid thought too. I approve. Yeah. Yeah, wear sunscreen. I actually use a sunscreen that follows basically a medieval recipe, except that the sunblocking mineral is not the original. So we actually have a sunblock cream recipe from the 12th century. It's contained in the Trotulla, which is actually ostensibly a book about gynecology and obstetrics from the 12th century, but it has a whole section on cosmetics and toiletries. And it actually has a recipe that says the Salernitan women use, the Salernitana women use, so the women from Salerno. And it says that they basically take white lead and mix it with olive oil, and there's a third thing that's also pretty bad for you. And then they use that to keep their skin from being infected by the sun. So basically, your modern, all-natural sunblock, like I have Badger, is titanium, or zinc, is non-nano zinc oxide, so the inert equivalent of white lead, and beeswax and some oils. So that's what I use for my sunblock. Yeah.
So just clip this right in the tank.
Yeah. So, okay. So here, let me show you that we got to turn it right side out. Okay. So this is my linen ticking. And it's linen canvas. And it's inside out. I made a mistake drying it faster, and I should have a picture on some.
Yeah, I used to cover this one.
Well, you've never known this one.
Really? Oh, this isn't really big enough. Yeah, different one when I came here.
Yeah. Okay. So we might have to go and get another sanitary.
Yeah. The veil.
Oh, okay. So this is my linen ticking, and I washed it last year after Pennsic, and I shouldn't have dried it, and I did dry it, and that was actually, I don't think I meant to. I think it got tossed in there with some of it that Argoline. Anyway, so it has shrunk a little bit. Oh well. So basically, it's linen canvas, and all we're going to do is stuff straw into it. Yeah, I definitely should not have. Okay, if you don't pre-shrink your linen canvas, don't post-shrink it by putting it in the dryer. And I don't think I meant to put it in the dryer, but there it is. Okay, and it's also much shorter than it was last week. So yeah, we probably had about a third shrinkage here. So well. Okay.
Yeah, put it in.
No. Wait, we do this. No, put it down. Nope, we do not just put it in. We cut it open because you have to fluff it. So now that you've seen it laid out, what we do is we take the sack. It is basically a giant sack. And roll it back so that you start at one end. And we take a flake of hay, as they're called. They're basically broken down into flakes, and you shake it. Bring that up.
This is a very clean process.
It is not. If you are allergic to straw, this is not the right choice for you. Straw, hay, grass, any of that, this is not the right, or dust, not the right choice for you. Take another flake. And you can use, you can use some of the fabric to protect yourself from it, but you want to loosen that flake. You want it to be nice and fluffy. Fluff, fluff, fluff. Unless you want your bed to be like a rock. Otherwise, you really want to fluff the straw.
I'm gonna go get my drinks.
So you can see how nice and fluffy that is now, right? And we just keep fluffing. And I do have a broom, and we will absolutely sweep this out 100%. Benson, could you also bring that other carpet in here? We have another carpet that will be going in the front here. The area you can't see. The ugly, dirty brown cloth, permanently stained by the sheep's meadow where it had its first event. So for those of you who've worked at horse stables or cow farm, then you know what it means to shake out a flake of hay or a flake of straw. It's a very important part of the creation of a fluffy straw mattress. I actually bought this canvas, linen canvas here a couple of years ago from a fabric merchant, a Mercer, from a Mercer called Carolina Calicos. Can't believe I put it in the dryer at the end of last sentence. I was clearly too tired to think straight at that point. I definitely didn't dry it before I made it. But I made it on site right after buying it. So, lesson is, when you have fabric, what you do before you sew the fabric is exactly what you can do to it after you sew the fabric. Meaning, if you do not pre-wash and pre-shrink your fabric in the dryer, you cannot do so afterwards without there being consequences, as you are now witnessing with your eyes. And I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I'm a little irritated with myself. Okay, now I'm going to put another flake in. And then I'm going to actually distribute it over the bed itself. Why would I do this? I'm going to take my sack, my amorphous sack of straw, and I'm just going to redistribute the straw like this. This is a stage at which you will no doubt experience a bit of a workout. So now I just reach my arm in and I layer the straw in. Move it into the corners. Distribute, distribute, distribute. The other layers I'll put over top of this, the other layers of mattresses, we'll probably be able to use, fill in the spaces that there now are on the sides. It didn't used to be before I shrank my bloody straw. So I just use my arms, sort of swipe back and forth and back and forth. To distribute it as evenly as possible. And keep in mind that, you know, we take this apart and put it back together and take it apart and put it back together. Straw mattresses would not have been taken apart and put back together. They would have been made once and then they would have been refreshed occasionally. But they wouldn't have to do this again and again and again. They basically restuff the straw mattress with more straw. If the straw grown moldy, they might take it out and replace it entirely. But otherwise, they would just have to occasionally go in and put fresh layers in. So this kind of effort, you only go to this effort hypothetically once. Then you have your straw mattress. Whereas every year at the end of this event, I dump all the straw out, fold up my straw ticking, take it home, launder it, and this time not put it in the dryer, and then move on. So yes, this might seem like a lot of effort, but remember, in the medieval period, it would have been a one-time effort with occasional refreshes, not a multiple every time effort. And now that I've got that end all stuff, I now work on this lower end here. Now, the nice thing about this straw mattress is it breathes. It breathes really well. It's warm when you need it to be warm, and it's cooling when you need it to be cooling. So when we hit these cold nights that we're about to hit, and I know we're about to hit them at the end of next week, the end of this week, I guess, this will be lovely. It will help keep you warm, keep us warm and comfortable. And some of you are probably about to ask, or maybe you have asked, and I'll come look at the comments in a moment, have asked, well, what about straw? Does it stick up and through? No, because this is a heavy linen canvas. It does not stick out and through. So I have, in fact, slept directly on the straw mattress and been comfortable as well. You can feel some of the, you can feel the straw, but it's not in any kind of painful way. It's not poking out or anything like that. Okay. So it used to be, back before this shrank by a third, that I actually had plenty of extra here that I could actually just, oh, I'm sorry, you guys are angled the wrong way. I apologize for that. I actually had plenty of extra here that I could just tuck under, but now I think I'm actually going to have to sew this damn thing shut, which is annoying, but there it is. Because I used to just be able, I actually had an extra 2 feet. That's how much it is shrunk, that I could actually just tuck under. Condottiero, where are you? I need my sewing poof because now I'm actually going to have to sew it.
Your sewing poop?
Yeah, I need the sewing poof. You'll see why I call it my sewing poof. I have not yet transferred any of my things to the medieval containers yet.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
Yeah. Wow, what? Yeah. Okay, this is my sewing poof. It's actually a Korean lotus bag. So I haven't yet transferred it. So now we get to actually sew the thing shut on the end. And we're just going to do whip stitches. And not particularly fine whip stitches at that. It's not necessary because of all the other layers that are going in. So before I sew it, I'm going to make sure that everything is as distributed as I want it to be. And double check to see that all the corners have been stuffed. If there's any place I need to stuff more straw, then I will do that. For instance, I can see up here that I could use some more straw at the top. It means I'll be adding some more to the bottom. That was the nice thing about not having to bloody well sew it, that I could easily adjust for more straw throughout the week. But this is literally the painful reminder of something I've known for years and years and years and years and years and years, that only due to the fabric after sewing what you did to the fabric before sewing. So, hello, my dear community, make this your lesson as well. You're going to sew your fabric into something, wash and dry it first if you ever want to wash and dry it in a dryer. Just making sure that the corner's up here so that we use every bit of fabric that's actually left. Stuffing it up here. Hanson, could you check the comments? Oh, are you sure you want to be dressed like that today?
This is all I have.
Really?
This time's 8.
You don't have kirtles?
No.
You need a kirtle. That would have been way more important. Okay, I'm gonna lend you a kirtle. Yeah, definitely gonna lend you a kirtle. Oh my god. Okay, yeah.
It just looks hot. It's hot. It's all right. It's gonna be hot outside of a.
No, the kirtle will be. I'll lend you a kirtle. It'll be much less bad. Oh my goodness.
It's okay. When I was in my tent, I was thinking that maybe I'd made a repair.
Yeah. So just so you know, that dress is supposed to be worn over a kirtle. But that's
there's several pieces missing from my luggage.
yeah. Oh, are there?
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh yeah. I'll lend you a kirtle so you won't suffer for it. Oh goodness. That is. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, clothing historically before the 20th century, pretty much everywhere in the world that is in a temperate climate, in the temperate bands, clothing was layered. You had a washable layer against your skin that was made of some kind of really breathable fiber, whether that's linen, cotton, or metal cloth, or hemp. And then you had layers that went over top of that. And then when it gets hot, you can, adjust your layering, but the layer that you wear against your skin is always a nice breathable one.
Yeah, I have a smock.
Awesome. No, sorry, I was talking to the audience.
Yeah.
I know, which is fantastic. And at an event like Pennsic, if you don't have a linen layer against your skin, you will hate life. Okay, so this is actually coming together nicely. You can see, nicely that's filled out, and thankfully the linen has stretched a little bit since I've been agitating it violently. I'm going to come and just check the comments quickly. Let me see. My yellow double, which practically looks white now. Yeah, right. Twitchy Witch, I'm so sorry. If you could ask me which book corner, which book you want posted in the book corner. Oh, the Trotula. Okay, yeah, the Trotula. Yeah, I'll post that. Yep, I will do that. Sweats. Let me see. Who else? Hold on a minute. Nope. You can get your phone? I don't know where your phone is, so. Okay. Just checking the comments, everyone. Sorry. I think it's good to see live mistakes. Remind us that everyone is human and just doing our best. And yeah, guys, I own my mistakes loudly and boldly and proudly so that you maybe don't have to make the same ones. Yep, 100%. Let me see. Okay, well, Twitchy's probably not there anymore. Sorry, Han. She left. I mean, she said she left. Could you add stripes of lacing holes to the canvas mattress to make it longer and to sew it close? Yeah, absolutely. So if I wanted to, I could absolutely add lacing holes to here, and then I wouldn't have to sew it shut and unsew it shut. I could just lace it shut. Yeah, and maybe I'll do that after this Pennsic when I'm cleaning up and everything. I'm not going to do that now though because I want a mattress to sleep on tonight. But yeah, no, B case. That's a brilliant idea, and that is definitely what I'll do. I will add, now that it's short, especially, I'll add lacing holes to it. And we actually see lacing holes used on things like pillow covers. You can actually see laced on pillow covers. Isabel, feel free to sit on any of the sitting pieces. You sure? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this kind of knowledge is so cool and still works today as it did back then. Let me see. Where is this Renaissance fair? What's it called? So this is not a Renaissance fair. This is a medieval recreation festival called Pennsic. It's run by the Society for Creative Anachronism. It takes place north of Pittsburgh in a place near Slippery Rock, Cooper's Lake it's called. And it's basically 2 weeks of different people in different encampments exploring different periods of the medieval period from, and some not even medieval, ancient Rome, all the way up to the end of the 16th century. And then there's balls and there's classes and there's battles with a shared form of a shared martial art form, the SCA style combat. There's harness fighting, there's fencing, there's rapier, there's archery, there's siege weapons, there's thrown weapons. There's all kinds of things happening here. Yep, Pennsic is what it's called. Oh, right, Ryan shared the Trotula. Great. Yep. Okay, so let me just
And there's the ISBN. So what was the mistake they made?
Hmm?
What mistake was made?
the
Oh, shrinking
the
it?
shrinking of the linen was the mistake. Yeah. So for those who are wondering what mistake we're talking about, this linen, when I bought it from Calico, Carolina Calicos, it's linen, 100% linen canvas. And because I bought it at the event, this event, and made it right into a mattress, I didn't get to pre-roast and I didn't get to pre-shrink it. And last year, I washed it. It was on cold, so that's not a problem. But then it got put in the dryer with a bunch of other stuff. And unfortunately, that shrank it. So now, whereas I used to have literally an extra 2 feet at the end that I could just tuck under, we don't have that anymore. So yeah, we're coming up with other solutions for closing off the mattress. The authentic way would be to sew it shut, but they would not be redoing unstuffing and restuffing and unstuffing and restuffing a straw mattress. It would have just been made as a mattress and done. And occasionally they would undo the seam to put more in, but not every single event. So yeah, let's get just another plate, please. So I use the sweeping method where I literally take my arm and just sweep it back and forth to smooth out the straw and get it from side to side as evenly as possible. Remember, you don't want to just stuff the flake of straw in there. You want to loosen it up so that it's all nice and fluffy, and then we can distribute it all fluffed up. Isabel, do you need some water, my dear?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
I think we're gonna end up moving to that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Where did I put our?
Okay. I think we've actually achieved the right level of fluffiness here. So I'm going to see if all the corners have filled in.
You see the broom anywhere?
You have a beautiful broom somewhere. Sorry about coughing in your ears, everyone. I inhaled some straw. Okay. So now that I believe we have achieved the right level of fluffiness, except there's just a little bit at the gap here. So I'm going to basically be gathering these ends up and whip stitching them. And probably not the neatest or tightest whip stitching you've ever seen in your life. But there is a little bit left here, so I'm going to put in just one more towards you. So you're trying to get to the straw.
Yeah. Sweep some of this.
You're going to take some of this detritus straw that's gathered up on the floor. And we're going to use that to fill in the ends.
Does this mean using straw to sweep straw?
Yes, you are literally using corn straw to sweep wheat straw. How meta is that?
Take that.
Oh, for those of you who don't know the word corn in English, only in America does it refer to maize, to the yellow grains that come on the end of giant oversized grass that came from Mesoamerica. In other countries, they call that maize. The word corn in original English, Middle English, medieval English, and early modern English, and up until relatively recently, was just grain. So if you go somewhere in Europe and you see a corn market, they weren't selling maize, they were selling grain. And actually, no one has explained. I expect that the reason that corn came to be called maize came to be called corn in the US because it was the grain that we found to be native there. And for those who don't know, maize, corn in the United States, is just a giant, scary grass. And it is not a vegetable, it's a grain. So we're clear on that. Okay. Isn't that itchy? No, it's not itchy. You can actually not, so at this stage, you can feel that there's straw there, but it doesn't hook up and it's not itchy. But this is certainly not going to be the final layer. The final layer is, guys, it feels you can see. It's not itchy. You can feel the straw, but it's not itchy. It's not the final layer though. We're going to be putting a couple of layers of wool mattresses and feather mattresses on top of this. So it will end up being quite luxurious. Actually. This is just the bottom layer. And in the 15th century and most of the Middle Ages, servants would have had straw mattresses like this. That's what servants would have slept on. And actually, the lowest level, they wouldn't even have the fabric ticking. They would have literally just slept on a pile of straw. But in the upper classes, the further up you went in society, the more affluent you were, the more layers you could put on top of your straw mattress. So we're going for the full layered effect. Okay, let's get grab the poof.
Grab the poof.
Okay, you're now going to get to see me do some wick stitching on this mattress. So I have not yet had the chance to transfer any of my things to their modern or the medieval containers, but I do have my medieval needle cases and sewing and pin cases and needle cases, right? So these are actually replicas. You can get these from Billy and Charlie's Finest Pewter Wares, and they are replicas of original medieval needle cases that are found in various places, not just London, but in the Netherlands and France. And I have one for my needles and one for my pins. And these look just like bullets on a TSA radar, by the way, which is why I always get inspected. Yeah. They absolutely had bed frames like this. Who didn't have bed frames like this, CSI? Who do you mean? You mean the peasants? Definitely not. Upper classes, absolutely yes. So, and actually peasants, definitely so. Peasant just means a farmer. And many peasants in the Middle Ages were actually pretty well off, believe it or not. So, your lower level servants, your people at the lower socioeconomic end of the spectrum, sure, they did not have bed frames like this. But middle class and up absolutely had bed frames like this, and they're mentioned in stories actually. So Il Boccaccio's Decamerone has all kinds of bawdy tales that happen in beds like this amongst middle class people and servants. So yeah, absolutely, probably not the people who were, probably not the gong farmers, but yeah, lots of people did. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to thread our needle. To whip stitch this baby together. Uh-oh. Did I just drop a needle? Hanson, did I just drop a needle? You weren't looking, were you?
I can try and find a needle amongst the.
A needle in the hay scatterings? That's the needle. Will not separate itself up from the other needle. I don't want. Okay. It is super humid today, everyone. Yes, I'm covered in sweat. That's because it is like 90% humidity here. It is remarkably humid. I like humidity, but this is a little crazy.
It's a bit much.
It's a bit much. Now, normally I would wax this thread. You should pretty much always wax your thread when you're hand sewing because it will allow your thread to last longer along the line of stitching that you're doing. But I lost my piece of wax at some point, and so I'm going to have to purchase some more here. Boy, do you have something that's quickly accessible? Otherwise, no, it's okay. And I'm definitely going to be doubling the thread for this because, you know, it's a mattress. It's going to take people tossing and turning in the night, and I'm definitely an active sleeper. I'm a very active sleeper, which should surprise no one who knows me. I toss and turn quite a bit. I basically do sleep Pilates as far as I can tell. So this mattress needs to be able to, with the stitching I'm about to do, needs to be able to withstand my nighttime Pilates, basically. Interesting. When did feather-filled mattresses become a thing? So I can't say when they became a thing. I know when I've documented them too, which doesn't mean they weren't a thing before. The earliest primary source references I've seen in Europe to feather-filled mattresses are the 13th century, but I would bet they predate that. It's just that that's not I haven't looked deeply into material culture before that era. So yeah, feather mattresses are definitely a thing. And I'd be shocked if the Romans didn't have them. The Romans were hugely about luxury, guys. That was massively important to them.
Huh?
I was talking, someone asked about feather-filled mattresses and when they became a thing. And my response was that I don't know when they became a thing because I haven't necessarily looked as deeply into material culture in other places and times. But yeah, definitely in the 15th century for certain. Okay. So I'm definitely also, I'm going to pin this shut. I'm not going to fuss around with trying to do this whip stitching without pinning it shut, because it's going to be fussy otherwise. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just pin this closed. So that makes the whip stitching that much easier. And just go ahead and yeah, okay. I can see up close what I'm doing. I'm basically making the ends meet, and then I'm folding them over like this in a not necessarily neat. It's a neat little fold, but I don't really care about those raw fibers sticking out because they're going to be underneath, and nothing is really going to agitate them as such. And actually, once I pin this shut most of the way, I can, now that it will have been shut most of that way, I can actually stuff just a little more straw to fill it out.
I just swept.
No, that's okay. We can sweep again. And this is the first year I'm actually doing it this way. For those of you who have just joined recently, as I lamented several times thus far, I stupidly put this straw ticking in the dryer after last Pennsic, and it shrank significantly. And so I have much less excess than I used to. I used to be able to just tuck it under because there was an extra 2 feet or 2/3 of a meter, basically, more or less. There is not anymore though. So now we're going to seal it up properly. Actually, it did stretch out, didn't it? Once I started stuffing it.
Yeah, a lot more. Here you go.
So beeswax for waxing your thread. But first, we're just going to go ahead and stay on. We are on a slight slope here. We may end up having to, we'll see. We'll see how sleeping goes tonight on the bed. We may end up having to shivvy up. What is it? Shim up. Yeah, shiv. No, not shiv. No shivving. Shim up. That didn't sound right. Shim up the end of the bed on the slope so that we don't actually slip down to the bottom of the bed. Medieval, I don't know how medieval people dealt with camping on a slope. I'm confident that at war encampments and even tournament encampments, they sometimes or often ended up on slopes. Unfortunately, the visual representation of medieval encampments never shows that as a reality. So we don't necessarily know what kind of techniques they used for compensating for slopes. There was all flat. There were no hills back then. Yeah, no, there were hills.
So we actually invented until 1832 by Thomas Hill.
We actually don't know what kinds of techniques they may have used. Here at Pennsic, I'm going to take you guys on a tour one of these days, and I'm going to take you into some of the camps so you can see what kinds of clever, inventive approaches people have devised to compensate for, in some cases, really steep slopes. And they've been really, really, I mean, we've got people who build entire platforms. It's kind of crazy. Well, I'm not a pins. We get people who build entire platforms, massive platforms for their entire perimeter of their pavilion so that they can be on a flat surface, a level surface, not flat, a level surface instead of being on a slope. But yeah, we'll be doing a live stream tour of some of those cool camps. I'm going to go get permission from people who are there, obviously. So I have to do that first. People are still setting up and they're still grumpy and sweaty. So now is not the time to do that.
Talking grumpy, so thinking about going and taking a shower.
Even though you're just going to get sweaty again.
What else are we doing?
Well, we've just set up the rest of the camp. What did you think we were going to do today?
Leaving.
No, we need to set up the rest of the camp. I can't live this way anymore. It's too awful to live in this unpacked manner. Okay, sorry. Let me see. Maybe we can. I very much doubt that the Roman elite slept on silk, because silk, even in the Roman Empire, was an insanely expensive export. If you're talking about ancient Romans, rather. That was, I very much doubt they slept on silk. Maybe the emperor might have, but I doubt otherwise, because silk had just arrived in Rome in about the time of Augustus, I think. Arrived in Europe at about the time of Augustus, because it was imported from the Qing dynasty, the original Qing dynasty, the dynasty that gave the name China to China. So it was a crazy extreme luxury item. I find it hard to believe that anyone but the emperor might have slept on silk in that time. But I'd be interested in any evidence otherwise. Okay, so let me see if I can get this, angle this camera. Just remember I said the sun comes, there we go, I think that should work. Right. Remember I said that the sun UV light, absolutely. You wanna keep organizing things here? Remember I said that the sunlight, the UV light will penetrate canvas, and that's why I have to wear even a hat, even when I'm under the canvas, because I have absolutely gotten sunburned under canvas before. Even with sunblock, my skin is very sun sensitive. So even with sunblock, I still have to be under shade. The sunblock basically protects me from the reflected light. Okay, so I'm just doing a very big-ish whip stitch here. And this is cotton thread, and I have waxed it. Yeah, when I say big, like an inch. In archaeological records in the Middle Ages, they often measure stitches, and they always measure stitch sizes in millimeters. And we definitely have garments, and sometimes in partial millimeters. I mean, I've seen archaeological reports on garments from the 15th century that had 0.5 millimeter size stitches, if you can imagine that. This is not that. This is like 2 centimeter stitches. This linen canvas is fantastic. Unfortunately, I have not seen Carolina Calico sell it again, or I would have bought some more, because it's really wonderful for a nice mattress ticking. For those who are interested in natural mattresses, if you're in Europe, there's actually a wool mattress maker in France that makes really splendid wool mattresses with coffering and compartments, so that it's a really comfortable experience. And wool is antimicrobial and breathes oh so well, and of course no petrochemicals or microplastics or off-gassing. When I was there, unfortunately I left Europe in 2014, and I was really thinking about getting one, but I didn't have the $1,000. It was only $1,000 euros for a queen size wool mattress, which is actually a steal because they're handmade. You can't make these kind of mattresses using a machine. I mean, they did stitches by machine, but all of the coffering, all of the stuffing, all of that, that's an artisanal craft. There's no machine that can do that part yet, I guess. But I didn't have that kind of liquid cash back, liquid assets, or any assets at my disposal. So I didn't get one. I really wish I had, because they were super comfortable. And I have toyed around with the idea of making one like that, but there's so many things I want to make. So many things. And only so much time in a life. So, yeah. Yeah, 0.5 is impressive for certain. I'm the same. It's like the sun has a personal vendetta against me, and it's definitely been a challenge at events because nobody seems to think about sun protection. Yeah. Yeah, this is day 3. Normally by day 2, I'm set up. Everything is set up. I've got everything done. So I'm getting really crazy now at this point, living in this way.
I can tell.
Yeah, I can't do it. I need to be done and ready to go. Normally today is an in medieval clothing day already. I'm not still in modern clothes at this point. So, but I don't usually spend 2 days basically helping other people set up. So yeah. It's okay. I don't regret helping other people set up. It was essential and necessary, but it's really set me behind big time on most of my time for the event. Yeah, 0.5 millimeter stitches are pretty damned impressive and give me all kinds of inferiority complex issues. Talk about feeling like an imposter when you read about a garment that was made in the 15th century with 0.5 millimeter stitches. It's like, Jesus, what on earth was that seamstress or seamer thinking? Okay, so I've reached the end of the, sorry guys, you couldn't see my hands actually. I've reached the end of the stitches, and so now I'm just going to, or not the end of the stitch, I've reached the end, what is reasonably the end of my thread, so I'm just going to do another little whip stitch right in place, and then bury my needle and pull it out and trim. Now let's see, where's my poof? Put these over here. I have a pair of modern style, but they followed a medieval, idea about snips, and these things are razor sharp. I could probably cut someone's chest open with these things. Not that I would, but I could. If I needed to do emergency surgery, I'm equipped. Okay. Lay thread. Nice thread. God, my fingernails are making me crazy. They're so dirty. I clean my fingernails 4 times a day here, and it doesn't seem to matter. I end up with geologic amounts of dirt under them. Okay, migrate some pins to this other end now that we've freed up some pin space. Tuck, tuck. Now we're back to the Shiv conversation. No, I was thinking surgery. If I needed to do surgery, they're that sharp. And unfortunately, if you run your fingers across the blade, it's, yeah, you'll hurt yourself. For instance, for some reason, I don't have a sheath for these snips, and so they're just in my sewing poof. So if I reach my hands into my sewing poof, then sometimes my fingers find the blades of the snips rather than anything I'm looking for. So I've given myself some respectable cuts on accident. Not from any willingness on my part. Just a little bit. Sorry. I don't know if you all can hear the cicadas. There's something about that sound that just makes it feel warmer. And I mean, that's literally,
That's because it's hot.
well, yeah, it is hot. But that's in part because honestly, cicadas, as far as I understand it, that sound is them fanning their wings to try to cool down. So they're actually are making a statement of, oh my God, it's hot. Why is it so hot? Sorry, let me get this threaded and everything, and then I'll take another look at the comments.
You lost the wheel entirely.
Hmm?
You lost the wheel.
Oh no, the wheel's gone. It got ripped off. It was loose anyway, but I'm pretty certain that it got ripped off in a conveyor belt or something. Yep, we're referring to one of my rolling bags because some of you may not know, I attend this event from Korea, so I actually have to pack all of my clothing and accessories in 2 suitcases, and one of them had a wheel ripped off, so it's pretty much useless as a suitcase now because when you have 70 pounds or 32 kilograms, carrying it by hand is not really a great option.
It's not valid.
It really does need to be able to wheel and drag without, dragging a hole into the ground. Being from Gettysburg, this is awesome. I like this time period. Yeah, if you're from Gettysburg, you're just around the corner. This event is actually up in, well, this time period, this is the 15th century. So well before Gettysburg was famous for anything. But some things, I guess, certain things didn't change very much, and rope bed technology seems to have not changed very much in that time. Why fix it if it's not broken? Yeah, this is definitely 15th century. And hence why this is linen ticking and not cotton ticking. For instance, by the Civil War, this would have been cotton. Definitely cotton ticking, especially in the United States. By the US Civil War, I should say, sorry, speaking as though I'm only having an American audience, which I happily have a very diverse audience. So, but yeah, by the American Civil War in the 1860s, this would have not been linen ticking anymore. It would have been cotton ticking. Maybe a cotton linen blend, but there would have been cotton involved. Yeah, Korea. Yeah, that's one of my bases of operations these days. Love it there so much. And I'm so glad I left the hot, steamy monsoon of Korea to
Steamy monsoon of Pennsylvania.
yeah, for the hot, steamy non-monsoon of Pennsylvania. I don't know. So after this, we'll be putting on the layers of the mattressing and making up the bed, and then we'll be hanging the canopy.
Here we hang the canopy first, so we can move the bed to position under the hanging.
Sure, we could do that. And now I'm going to take this. So now I have sewn it most of the way. Sewn it most of the way. You can see that all along there. And now there's just one little last opening, and I can see I've got some room here. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little more fluff and then seal it up. Yeah, it's so much cooler out here. This is crazy. It's literally 10 degrees Fahrenheit cooler out here than it is in the pavilion. Yeah, lovely. Straw. And shove it in. Actually, I will admit that sewing it up is actually allowing me to stuff it a little fuller than I usually do because I actually have a seam against which I can press. So that's maybe not a totally bad thing that I'm sewing it up this year. And you should put outside in the cooler air. It's so much cooler. It's crazy. Shocking, actually. Nice for everyone else. Unfortunately, we're at the time of day when the sun is still beating down on this pavilion. And yes, cotton canvas breeze a little bit, but you know, it's also not so much that there is no difference between inside the canvas pavilion and outside the canvas pavilion. Okay. And we'll go ahead and pin that shut. Oh, Nicholas, welcome to Pennsic. We're still setting up our camp, unfortunately. Much to my chagrin. Okay. We've lost 2.5 hours on Friday because we were in this massive check-in line with an unfortunate lack of pace. And so by the time we got through the check-in line, it was just enough time before dark, basically, to actually set up our pavilion. And then it was dark. And, not really. Oh, and we didn't have the bed anyway because this bed was in. Unfortunately, not much can proceed without the bed. The bed was in storage, and we left the key to the storage unit back in Delaware, USA. Delaware is on the East Coast. It is a 7-hour drive to Delaware. And we called the storage unit and they said, no problem, we'll get someone to cut the bolt. Well, they didn't get someone to cut the bolt on Friday. And they weren't going to get someone to cut the bolt until we called them again on Saturday morning because we hadn't heard back. They're like, we forgot about it. We'll get to it. It'll be by 4 p.m. today. So that's more than 24 hours since we called them and asked them to have the bolt cut. Anyway, another painful lesson that will hopefully teach us to remember the key to the storage unit next year.
Where you get them with the code.
Yeah, I know. So in Korea, we don't have keys anymore. Everything is code. Cars, I guess, still have keys, but you don't actually use them to unlock them. You just get in proximity. Anyway, doors don't have lock keys. They have codes. So you just need to remember the code. Unfortunately, that means I'm completely out of the habit of remembering to bring keys anywhere at all. So, and unfortunately, I think we're not allowed to have a combination lock on this place because it has to be this special kind of lock that's super duper strong. Okay, there it is. More Contessa World problems. It's just me kvetching, but also explaining why we're not further along than we are. Okay. Shit. I've just been sitting. It's cold. Okay, so now it's all pinned up. And we will be finishing the stitches. So I just have to figure out where my needle and thread is. Something clever with my needle.
Did you stuff it in with the
Stuff it into the mattress? That'd be great. I think I did. I think I stuffed my needle into the mattress. Yep. For certain. Yep, that's where the needle went. Okay. Excuse me.
Sorry.
Sorry, everyone.
Oh.
Can't actually tell if you can see me because it's so bright that I can't see anything. Okay. Yes, you can see my hands. Great. Okay, so continuing with our whip stitches. And as I said earlier, this, some people may think this is fussy, but the reality is that you make a straw mattress once in the Middle Ages, and then occasionally you open it back up and you refresh the straw, but you don't have to, stuff it, sew it, unstitch it, empty it out every single event, because that's not how they did it. They would have traveled when they took their straw mattresses with them, and they did, by the way. They would have just had baggage trains, lots and lots of carts, and they just would have hauled it. They would have, the people who could afford to move their households around could afford baggage trains to move their crap without having to necessarily disassemble everything. Now, furniture was designed to flat pack. That was for certain true. But things like mattresses, they would just pile up in a wagon basically and be done with it. They wouldn't have had to undo it and remake it every single time. The needle in a haystack. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. Oh, I mean, I've of the last 11 years, I've probably spent 8 of them in Korea. So there's a lot about I mean, I've lived abroad. I chose to move. I immigrated to Germany when I was 22 and studied at the University of Heidelberg. I had a German job. I lived my happy German life. So I really haven't spent much of my life in the US since high school, honestly. So I'm much more international than I am American. I kind of view myself actually as a citizen of the world rather than a citizen of any one country, but I definitely have adapted to many aspects of Korean life that I miss when I'm in places like the US. Okay, where did my surgery snips go? Where's the poop? Are the surgery snips in here? Surgery snips are in here. Okay, one last little bit of stitching and then we are done and we're ready to hang the silk canopy, which is piled up behind me here. I don't know. You can see it. Yeah, that red pile of silk towards the back, the upper side of the screen, the back side of the screen, that is our silk canopy. Okay. Last home stretch, as they say, I believe, in the game of baseball, which, by the way, is massively popular in Korea. So some of you don't know, but I'm actually about to embark on a fantastic opportunity of a research project. I'm going to be researching historical Korean clothing, what would be medieval for us to 18th century. And I'm going to actually be going to museums and actually examining, touching, holding, looking in detail at historical Korean garments from hundreds of years ago to analyze their construction techniques, how they're put together, which layers went together, which pieces went together first for all the different layers of clothing for men and women. And I'm doing this in conjunction with one of the world's renowned experts on historical Korean fashion. And so it's really exciting. I'm super excited, but that's going to start in earnest after Pennsic. So for now, I'm still solidly 15th century European in my research. And I'm certainly not quitting my 15th century European endeavors at all. No. I'm going to do both at the same time because why not? But I am very excited to flesh out my understanding of the history of fashion across the world by getting a really in-depth look at historical Korean garments. And I have actually started making I made a 17th century pair of tansokot, as they're called in Korean, which are basically, it's an underlayer that looks kind of like culottes, if you know what culottes are. And it's made of hemp. And this is the layer that would have actually added the poof to the skirts that go over top of it. So those of you familiar with Korean clothing, the hanbok, as it's called modernly, not the historical term for those clothes, by the way, but as they're called modernly, the poofy skirts, they didn't have crinolines or farthingales or anything like that, hoop skirts. They actually they achieved that poofiness with layers, and one of the most important layers are these tansokot, which, like I said, they're kind of like puffy culottes made of hemp. They're super comfortable. I brought them with me just to wear, not here at Pennsic, but while I'm in the US, because they make a fantastic summer garment all by themselves. So I have actually also already therefore started my journey into making historical Korean clothing. So very exciting times here at the Creative Contessa. Okay, there we are. All done. Oh, I'm sorry, so you couldn't see those last stitches. All done. And I am soaking wet in sweat, as it is so very humid. Okay. Here we go. That is done. So you can see a little closer here. You can see the, there we go, the whip stitch. And now I just need to make sure I pull all these pins out so we don't find them with our feet. Also, I need these pins for other projects. I only brought so many pins with me, so these are precious. These are actually fine steel pins that I bought in Florence 2 years ago. We were visiting Florence and I literally ran out of pins. I lost my last pin. It fell out of the thing I was working on and I had no more pins at all. So we bought this giant box of beautiful, super fine steel pins from an embroidery supply shop in Florence. Fantastic shop. They had silk embroidery floss. Oh, so wonderful. Okay, so now I'm just gonna fluff that up. Okay, so my condottiero next wants to hang our canopy. So I'm going to back us up for that. So we have this canopy, and it is basically the size of the bed, more or less. Oh, that can come out. That was to adapt it for yeah. So I used to hang this in the little neighboring pavilion, the baby pavilion, and so I had to make adjustments for the smaller amount of hanging space that we have. So I've actually used some pins to actually take nips and tucks in places, but we can actually hang it back to its full size here. So that's great.
So you should start at that corner, right?
Yeah. Okay. So we want it to be, I don't think we want it to be against the, what are you?
You want to start at that corner, we're going straight across here. Right?
Ideally, yeah, but
remember you, for this one, you actually tied it around.
Can I actually see? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So it's basically the size of what would modernly in America be a full bed, not a double bed, but a full bed.
Didn't you create a hook and hook it onto the end of the pole, the end of the cup?
Yeah. So that's So because our poles go into pockets, there's actually a little bit of excess on the other side, so I can actually wrap the rope around that. Okay, so we'll just do that. Okay.
This was tied.
Well, I didn't secure that enough.
You
More secure. This thing is much simpler to hang up. Shove the pin all the way to the bone. It's okay. This thing is much easier to hang up in an actual room, a chamber that is rectilinear. Sure. We don't have a rectilinear space here, though. We have a dodecahedral space with spikes and spokes. So it's not quite as easy as just hanging it up.
and spikes as well. As you stand yourself.
There are pins in the hanging.
Oh, that's not terrible.
Yeah, the pins. Yeah, so I got lazy about this. I actually sewed this thing by hand. Like the entire thing is sewn by hand. Everything.
Which is what she calls lazy.
Yeah, but I got lazy at the end because I just wanted to have it done in time for an event. And so instead of figuring out a better attachment method for the silk walls, I just pinned them into place. Because the plan was eventually to do it the way it is in the actual silk bed hangings that you see, where they actually have a rope that goes through all the way from corner to corner in all dimensions. And then you actually have rings on your curtains. And then you can actually slide your curtains along those ropes. But because I'm only ever using this one in this dodecahedral pavilion, and it never ever gets quite square or rectangular, that just didn't end up working out. So I didn't sew the curtains into place. I pinned them into place because I just never feel like taking the time to do something as boring as sewing long lines of silk curtains. Okay, so then
Now let's see, is a wall of red.
Now we see whatever. We're repositioning.
Running a marathon. Sorry that I'm off. Oh,
Right into making Jess.
but I made
Oh,
it.
they're both here? Wow.
He has a beard.
She has a beard? She has a beard. Oh, he must be out of the military then.
Yes.
No, this needs this one needs another one put in its corner. Unfortunately. So unfortunately, some of these pulled out last year, and because the tent was so small, it didn't matter. But this one I actually we need to get a really big needle and thread some of the stuff through it.
See my sewing kit?
Yeah, which is your sewing kit. So basically what we're going to be doing here to suspend this canopy, what we're going to be doing here, I'll show you the corner, bringing you closer. What we're going to be doing here is this is the corner actually here. This is not a corner. This is the side of the corner. And that's because when I originally designed this, I actually designed it to be the medieval way, which is there should be a little trident basically. There should be a tie here, a tie here, and a tie here, and those should all tie to a center loop. And yeah, I had that at one point, and over time those have broken down, and I just don't feel like devoting, because by the time I get to an event like this, and this point, I'm just so hot and sweaty, I just want my space set up. So yeah, ideally it should actually have a little trident here on the corner, and then that trident connects to one rope.
How much do you want?
I don't know. Okay, so basically I'm just this is actually artificial sinew. And I would prefer it to be real sinew, but whatever, we have this now, we'll use this up and then we will no longer buy petrochemical sinew. Okay, so, oh my God, you gave me the leather needle.
Oh, shit. I got others.
Yeah. Okay. So just so you know why I said, oh gosh, that's a leather needle. Basically, it is a triangular cross-section blade and it will cut through your fabric. It will not poke a hole through your fabric. It will slice your fabric. So you don't want to use that on fabric. You want to use a needle. This is for leather specifically. So never use a leather needle.
See the end.
Yeah, never use a leather needle for fabric because you'll actually cut your fibers and create weak spots in your fabric. Okay, so I might actually don't do this suspended. Okay.
And everything around me that draws things. And I have a crayon.
Okay, so I guess I'm probably gonna need, more is generally better because we get.
So I'll cut here.
Yeah. Okay.
So
In some cases, more is more. In this case, where we're dealing with an irregular space, and I'm not certain how much we'll actually need to get this thing properly tensioned, because I haven't used it in this particular pavilion since 2017.
they have one.
More is definitely more. So I put a knot in the end. I'm gonna put something.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, so I put a nice big knot so that it will be very good at anchoring itself, basically. Hi, Lucy. Tent's going slowly. The canopy is made from silk, and this is actually silk I bought at IKEA for €5 a meter. But for those of you who weren't there for earlier, I want to show you the difference between the top of the canopy, the color of the top of the canopy, and the wall hangings. And so you can see what UV light does even through the canvas of a tent. It was originally all this red, and now the top that's been exposed to the sunlight for about 2 weeks a year, for about 10 years, I would say. No, maybe 15 years, that it has faded that much. So that's how much UV light still comes through the canvas. So you really do have to protect yourself, your skin from the sun, even if you're under canvas. You can't just rely on the canvas to keep the sun off. It just won't work.
She's been in such good health.
So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and redo the trident thing since I'm here anyway.
tree that like when it jumps down off of something sometimes. Like for, like,
Okay, so I'm actually rebuilding a trident to the end here, which means that there'll be a rope coming out here, a rope coming out here around the corner, and then a rope coming out from the center of the corner, and they will all attach to one point. So I need snips to cut this out. Yeah, Lucy, it's going slowly, very, very slowly. Yeah, it's going much slower than we should be, actually. It's taken us way more time to get set up this year than in previous years. This is what it is. We had other obligations to attend to. Okay, so I'm going to actually cut that so that I can tie it. Trident, and then I will poke through on this other side. You can even see I even made a reinforced area. I even made a reinforced area for the trident rope.
You're gonna have to add. Like here, the string is all.
Yeah, I was pretty certain we'd have to redo a lot of the strings and ropes. Anyway, so that was going to be part of the process, is restringing the canopy. Because I got away with doing what I did because it was a much smaller tent. I could do a lot more faking. This pavilion requires more of the real deal. Yeah, once we do the restringing, I think it will be fine and it will be good for the next whatever number of years. But it's just been too many years of me faking it in a space where it didn't matter. Yeah. I think you're going fast. Imagine if you all were beginners. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess so what we're doing, I mean, as we're doing it, it's going quickly, but I'm talking about the whole process. Like I normally by Saturday afternoon, I'm set up and in medieval clothing. And it's Sunday afternoon and we're not even close to that. So yeah. It's in part because there's two people and there's stuff to deal with instead of the usual one person and there's stuff to deal with, but also because I was helping other people set up for 2 days. So, okay. So this is what I meant by tripod. It's red on red, so I'm not certain how helpful that'll be, but I'll try to demonstrate, try to show you what I'm talking about here. So we've got the corner. This is the corner. And then we've got a rope on the one side of the sort of a couple of inches, like 5 inches from the corner. And then the other direction, 5 inches from the corner. And then these are all going to connect together, basically. What's going on? Oh, because of the pins holding the canopy in place. We might need to also just pull the pins holding the canopy in place out entirely anyway. Yeah.
I was thinking that actually.
Yeah.
You want me to do that?
Yeah, might as well. It'll be easier. Okay. Because some of these pins are bent like this. 90-degree angle. Come on, camera, focus. Yeah. Yeah, so yesterday we spent the day setting up a kitchen, a camp kitchen, and someone else's big giant tent, bigger than mine even. And yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to take these and I'm going to make them into one. I'm going to bind them together. This might be the first year I've actually done this properly, in the proper trident way, so there will probably be some lessons learned here as well. But you actually see this. You see these tridents on the ends of the corners of the 15th century depictions of silk canopies. If you look especially at the birth of the Virgin, the birth of John the Baptist, the birth of Saint Anne, then you can actually see these tridents, see these trident rope and finishes, connection points actually in those scenes, right? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, so that trident is done. Great. Next set of tridents. Going over here. Where is the So yeah, it normally doesn't take us this long, but we're having to do a lot of extra things also that we don't normally have to do. Normally I don't sew my mattress ticking shut.
Normally we don't take down the sidewalls.
Yeah, although it does make it much easier to set them up if you do. Okay, so this is artificial sinew. And it's a million times cheaper than natural sinew, but honestly, next time once we go through this, we're going to switch back to switch to natural sinew. Okay. Just checking the comments. If you guys have any questions, just let us know. Oh, you actually managed to get that one, although it may or may not be in the right spot when it comes down to it. Oh, no. But that's the actual corner, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, my screens are also very good.
Not massively worked. Okay. And I still have pavilion repairs to effect. I was going to do that yesterday, but haha. Yeah. So I have to organize all of our stuff. Someone needs a haircut, but we need to get our stuff organized first. Okay, so we might want to
Yeah. Bring them over to you where you are. They can sort of see you now.
You can probably hear all of the hammering happening around us. Lots of people actually come for the very first weekend and they set up their camp and then they go home and they work for the next week. And then they come back on the middle weekend and stay for the second week. I actually personally prefer the first week of the 2 weeks. If I only had to do 1 week of Pennsic, I would do the first week. It's calmer, it's quieter. There's still thousands of people here. It's not like there's nothing happening. There's still tons of classes, dancing. There's not battle size combat, but there's combat happening on the field. So yeah, I feel like it's the first week definitely just feels less frenetic. The second week is almost hyperactively scheduled. And so it just feels like you're just constantly doing. So, take this. And I'm just going to kind of see how that really tightens up nicely, right? You can see, and now it's a pretty canopy. Okay, I'm going to wrap it around the pull again here to get some pulley effect. The distribution of the horse these pulleys, and then probably be able to actually tie that off there. I think this one is going with that. Off at this point. For those who are wondering about the dimensions of this pavilion, it is 7 feet at the hub, and the spokes are also 7 feet each. So it's 14 feet plus a couple of inches in diameter at the level of the walls, where the walls meet the roof. And the footprint, I think, is 17 feet. The perimeter on the bottom. The diameter is 17 feet rather, not the perimeter. So it's a pretty good size pavilion, and it allows us to have a living side and a sleeping side. Nice, because then this can also be the communal space for our camp. Of course, but the sun's shining right on it. Pretty toasty. And it's not even hot today, actually. It's just humid. Very, very humid. If there were a breeze, it would be fine. But there isn't. There's no breeze. There's no air moving at all, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, definitely not in here.
Definitely not in here.
What? It's just the
Oh no, that needs to go. That needs to go further forward. Yeah. That's as far open as the doors go anyway. Yeah. So we're dealing with a little with the yeah, so this needs to go really further forward. So or yeah, or that needs to
But we need to attach it there.
yeah, so we'll undo this one. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll undo this corner. That goes to there. This is what when I said this is a dodecahedron, it's not the right shape for this kind of canopy. That's what I meant. And we don't actually know how, we know they use these suspended canopies in pavilions because you can see them depicted in art, or at least as trustworthy as art may be. But the problem, of course, is that, well, they don't show how exactly they're suspended. Let me see. Tim says, I actually set up a tent when I was younger. It can take a little while depending on the size of the tent. Hope you're all having a good day so far. Yeah, so the tent actually goes up this tent, the tent itself goes up in 20 minutes. It's setting up the rest of the camp that's time consuming. Setting up the bed, organizing the camp, putting, the furniture. How differently does artificial sinew behave compared to natural sinew? Does it react the same to water? It does not react the same to water at all. Artificial sinew doesn't react to anything as far as I can tell. It will melt. Artificial sinew will melt if you apply flames to it. Yeah. So they definitely do. They definitely react completely differently. Completely differently. Yeah, the tent itself gets up quickly. It's setting up the whole camp, right? Because we have lots of stuff to organize now, lots of things that need to be distributed into their medieval containers. And we still need to finish making the bed.
Afraid there's not a lot of
Oh no, there is. Where's this in here?
this.
So, well, here, what? If I run some sinew to that, and then pull that way, and that will bring that up.
Okay.
And what I always say every year we set this up in any of the pavilions in which we set it up, I say, we'll take a picture to remind ourselves of exactly how we had it set up and where everything was tied to. Do I ever do that? No, but maybe we'll do it this time. Maybe this will be the day. Yeah, so I can actually also just poke that through. Yeah, maybe this will be the time. Yeah, no, it's the organization of the stuff. We have food stuffs. We've got serving contained dishes. We've got books that we brought. We have clothes, of course, that need to be distributed out of their suitcases into trunks. There's a lot of things that need to be organized. So it's not just the setting up the tent is the easiest part. Seriously, these pavilions go up so fast. It's not even funny. They go faster. It is easier to set up this 15th century hub and spoke pavilion than it is to set up a Coleman tent. 100% guarantee. Takes less time. But yeah, especially when you're futzing around with some of those flexible. But that's not the time sink. The time sink is the organizing everything and getting everything distributed. Unfortunately, we made the mistake of unloading everything from the car before, instead of doing it bit by bit and organizing a bit at a time. So now we've just got a mass of stuff that needs to be sorted through.
That was my fault. I thought we had to.
Yeah.
Literally just too much for me.
Okay. And so you can run some sinew up through that one and tie it to the spoke above. Okay. So I've got lots of fun things planned for this Pennsic, not just watching me hang this fussy silk pavilion. We are going to be, once we get everything set up, we'll do a live stream tour of the setup so you can see how beautiful it looks when it's not a mess. And then, of course, I will be doing some medieval sewing parties. I will be doing medieval story time. I've got some fantastically fun things to read to you all and to discuss with you. I will be live streaming many of my dance classes anyway. I'm teaching a bunch of dance classes. So I will be live streaming those medieval dance classes. So yeah, we're going to have a pretty good time together. For those of you who can't come to this event yourself and you would like to see what it's like firsthand, maybe you'd like to actually learn a dance or two from the comfort of your own space, then you can do all that. My son and husband are already there. I'll be joining them Saturday. Very cool, Jen. Very cool indeed. I'm encamped in an annex of the Enchanted Grounds, West 8, I think we are, West 9, at the bottom of Runestone Hill. We are in the Belfiore part. Ask for the Contessa and they will know of whom you speak. And I will be hosting a Creative Contessa meet and greet next week during War Week. Stay tuned for the scheduling on that. I have not had a moment to really look at my schedule and figure out when is the best time. When works for my schedule, because my schedule's pretty full. That's what I mean by the best time. Sorry, not the best time for everyone, just the best time for me. Selfishly.
You kind of have to be there.
Yeah.
So
My schedule's pretty full at this event. It always is. It's not like this is not a unique situation. Pennsic is a very busy event for me. It always is. One of the reasons I need really damsels, ladies in waiting as they're called modernly, because I need someone to manage it and to handle all of the essential life tasks like making me drink water and eat food and tracking my schedule. Speaking of people making sure that I actually have water.
got you water.
Yeah, so yeah, we've got lots of fun plans. Okay, the canopy is hung. We have not attached the walls yet, but okay, the canopy is, let me see how back we are. We need to go further back, apparently. Okay, how does that look? Darn it. No, go away, Gemini. I hate Gemini. Gemini is the worst. Okay, Henson, if you could step out of the camera. The canopy is hung. And on the inside, you can actually see okay.
Hey, back.
Okay, sorry everyone. The stupid everything. Sorry everyone. I'm still here. What?
I hear you. It's not plugged in anymore.
Oh, right. Let's just switch. Sorry everyone. The camera decided to turn itself off for some reason. And now the camera won't turn back on. Okay, that's fun. Camera permissions have been denied for whatever reason. Okay, well, if you can all hear me, I've got to figure out why suddenly camera permissions have been denied. Okay, everyone, stay tuned for the full tour of the completely set up encampment when we're all done. I appreciate you all joining me here today. Yeah, I know the picture's gone. It's because the camera's denied. So I appreciate you all joining me here today. We're ending with a podcast, apparently. I will see you all later. Stay tuned for more live stream fun with the Creative Contessa at Pennsic. If you have any questions that I didn't answer in the course of this live stream, pop them in the comments under the video once it posts. Otherwise, don't forget to like and subscribe. I would like to thank my YouTube channel members and my Patreon. I know, right? But look at it this way. Now you'll be very interested in seeing the live tour of my canopy. I know, as Selfer, I'm so sorry. I would like to thank my patrons on Patreon for supporting me, and all of those of you who leave super chats and other forms of remuneration, and all of you who just are part of my community and are going with me on this journey of historical discovery. Thank you all so much, everyone. Until later, stay creative and stay cool, guys. Bye, everyone.